Pursuant to Education Code 44951B, the superintendent or designee will notify administrators that they may be either released or reassigned for the 16-17 school year. And the board also took action that to authorize the superintendent or designee to notify a .40 FTE temporary certificated employees pursuant to Education Code 44954B that they will not be reemployed for the 16-17 school year. Both of those actions were taken by unanimous vote.
Actually, we did modify remove the release language for the administrators and just left the reassignment language.
Yes, yes.
Part of it.
Yeah, part of it.
So you can all breathe
Part of
easy.
it, Chris.
The board also took action on item C, consideration of leave of absence request for 2 certificated employees. That number was changed under the closed action board approval to 2, and 1 was approved and 1 was not. Both were unanimous votes. Consideration for leave of absence request for a classified employee was approved, unanimous vote. And the board also took a unanimous vote on item 4E as in Edward, the approval of the interdistrict transfer request. So thank you very much.
Okay. And now we'll have the flag salute. Georgianne, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item is agenda approval. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay. Could we have a motion for agenda approval?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Public discussion on the agenda? Okay. Any board discussion? Student comment? All right. We'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? That was approved unanimously. Next item is public comments for items not on the agenda. So, do we have any comments? Yes. Would you please step to the podium? Just, we'll point out that we're, again, the proceedings are being videotaped and will be available on the district website.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Rowling. I'm the district librarian based at Willits High School. I'm here tonight to represent my coworkers. We, the teachers of Willits High School, wish to voice our frustration and dissatisfaction with the performance of the administration of our school. Chief among these concerns is the chronic absenteeism of the principal, which has created a host of problems through inaction, inattention, and lack of consistency. We freely acknowledge that his participation in a legal trial concerning his former district is an unavoidable situation to which he is subject. We further acknowledge that the principal has removed himself from the court case for an unknown amount of time. However, the extended absence further highlights the continuing leadership problems of the high school that the high school has faced over the last few years due to poor decisions made by the district. That these factors are out of the principal's control does not mitigate the reality that our school has been effectively leaderless over half of the instructional year. The consequences of operating without direction and oversight have been numerous, and the effects fall into a few key areas. The lack of front office leadership, lack of school-wide discipline, demoralization of teachers and staff, the lack of district oversight of school conditions, and poor communication. As evidence of this, we've compiled the following items. The absenteeism on the part of our principal has led to issues in several areas of campus, including the lack of time to effectively get to know the campus climate, faculty, and staff. The assistant principal, counselors, and office staff lack guidance on how to complete their jobs effectively. The office frequently, both administrators and counselors, are making decisions without input from or notification of the teachers. Despite staff meetings when the principal was on campus and numerous individual meetings, there was a general lack of respect for and follow-through of teacher concerns. Examples of this include the very belated and inadequate solution for library coverage, custodian schedules affecting use of educational hours, and slow redress of significant pay issues for multiple faculty members. Many of these issues could have been mitigated by district level attention, but the current policy of having everything pass through the principal before it can be brought to the superintendent means that teachers have almost no conduit to express any issues to the district level. Many teachers have stopped writing discipline referrals because of the lack of timely and effective action on our administration's part. Intoxicated students and those who commit outrageous acts of defiance are often returned to class within the hour. This puts the onus of disciplining students back onto teachers, despite infractions clearly being a matter for the administration, according to our student handbook. The overall discipline on our campus is in shambles. An SRC room was instituted this year. It's an on-campus suspension room. It was enacted as a place for disruptive students to be temporarily separated from the classroom. The SRC room is an abysmal failure. The room is not manned for 2 periods out of the day, and the other 4 periods are shared by 3 separate teachers. These gaping holes in the schedule are covered by an office secretary. Our faculty and staff do not feel safe at work. Main office phone lines are not consistently answered due to not enough secretarial help. Lack of adequate supervision in common areas on campus has led to fights and students roaming campus. Threatening behavior by students toward teachers, staff, and other students has been downplayed by administration despite multiple cries for help. To make matters worse, the public address and bell systems do not work in every classroom. This causes emergency information to go lacking and unheard. It also causes students to be released early from class and arrive late on a regular basis. The district appointed the current principal to its most complex campus without a clear timeline of his availability and did not provide a substitute or backup. Promises of principalship coverage by the superintendent, the contracted substitute administrator, and the assistant principal were not followed through. Such lack of communication is unfortunately common on the WHS campus. Teachers are not advised when the principal or assistant principal is off campus for significant intervals of time. Items needing action are very belatedly addressed, if at all. One of the most troubling future implications of the present inhospitable climate at Willits High School is the departure of many of our young and talented teachers. It is educationally reprehensible with regard to our students that these teachers are so unsupported that they're taking the first opportunity to depart our district for another opportunity that will offer them just basic professional respect. Compounding this situation is the imminent departure of our highly effective veteran teachers due to retirement or dissatisfaction. By the end of the next school year, 40 to 50% of our current teaching staff will no longer be with Willits Unified. Willits High School will shortly find itself without its steadfast pillars and lacking the raw materials to rebuild its crumbling edifice. A school does not function without teachers having the reasonable opportunity to teach. At present time, our teaching is being unreasonably hindered. The administrators of the school are purpose-bound to be facilitators and the external, out-of-classroom support that allows teachers to effectively educate their students. We are devoted, sirs, madams, to being the staunchest advocates for the education of our youth, even to the point of escalating this situation beyond the bounds of our district.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has public comment?
I do. I have a question first.
One of you at a time, please.
My question is this. I know special ed is next on the list. I would like to address something that has nothing to do with the special ed presentation. May I have 3 minutes?
Absolutely.
I would like to commend Kelly as our director, who has done a fabulous, fantastic job. She knows every student in special ed. She knows the circumstances. She knows the problems. She knows the home life. She knows everything about everybody we work with. She supports us in a phenomenal way. She has knowledge. She has expertise. She knows things. She solves problems. She answers emails. She does everything. And on top of that, she's a really thoroughly nice person to work for and with. I would like to commend you.
Anybody else?
Clarence Ryan. Good evening, board members,
Hi, Clarence.
district staff. A few things I'd like to say tonight. I'll start off in regards to some of the comments made at the last board meeting regarding the new buses. They were slated to have 5 of them surplused out. 3 out of the 5 of them currently have the DPF installed in them, the diesel particulate filter, which is part of the new clean air emissions. There was a recall on all of them, so those particular DPFs will get fixed for free. So they are slated to buy some new buses, but these buses, these 3 buses, they're bus 1, bus 6, and bus 7, all under 100,000 miles, hardly used. Still a lot of life in them. The 2 of the other 5s are 87 and an 89, or 88 and an 89. Non-electronic motors, they're not being able to do anything with the exhaust, so they're pretty much got to be sold out of state or as a RV, where they don't have to undergo the. So the thing is, some misstatements were being said, and I felt you guys are being led in a direction that they wanted you to think that, you know, all 5 buses got to go. In all actuality, only 2 got to go. 3 of them still under 100,000 miles. The DPF will be fixed for free due to the warranty recall. There was saying it was cheaper to do repairs on the outside, that it doesn't cost anything to deliver. And a bus was delivered to Bus West, and it cost 2 drivers 6 hours to go down there. And I was trying to rack my brain and rack my brain. And the only buses that I can remember that happening to, first I should say, whatever buses that I couldn't handle was warranty. We did 99.9% of the work in-house. And when I got there, transportation was in the red. A year later, we were in the black with a surplus. It wasn't all me, but I do like to think I did make a difference. The bus that went to Bus West, this particular point they brought out, wasn't arranged by me. However, I got in on the tail end and I arranged to get it back. One phone call to Bus West, they deliver at no charge. They pick up at no charge. So that's a true statement. I just want you guys to be aware of that. Not that we had a lot of buses going out, but Bus West came, picked it up, and delivered it at no charge. And I'm sure they still currently have that policy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When you say Bus West, is that over in Sacramento?
That's in Woodland.
In Sacramento?
Yes.
And those would happen to be the two buses that were under warranty that had to go there, right? That you're talking about?
One went to, well, this particular, I don't know which buses
All
they're
right.
talking about. I'm trying to figure out.
All right, I
what
just
they're
wanna make
talking
sure it
about.
was
One bus I know
Sacramento.
for sure was under warranty. And it had transmission shift issues. Me and John drove it down there, John and I drove it down there because otherwise you'd have to tow it down there. So the transmission would default, kick this thing into neutral. Two qualified mechanics would know what to do to get it kicked up and get it over there safely. We wouldn't ask anybody else to do it. This is cheaper for us to do it this way because there's been a couple $1,000s to have it towed down there. As it was, we had no issues getting it down there.
There's a point of clarification. This board member was under the impression that all 5 of those buses that we are releasing were not able to be upgraded, not able to meet the CARB requirements for this next year.
Yes, thank you. That's why I wanted you to make you aware.
So you're telling us that only 2 of those 5 buses were not able to be upgraded.
Right. The 3 already have been upgraded
Right, I understand that.
and will get repaired at no cost, like the other.
So how much longer will those 3 still be viable in our fleet if they were fixed appropriately with the warranty? Are they gonna sunset at some point because of CARB requirements that are already in play?
You know, that's an ever-changing thing. You don't know from year to year what's gonna happen with CARB. As of whenever that gets fixed, that day, it meets 2016 compliance. So, you know, you can buy.
So essentially that bus could go on until it
Yeah.
reaches its,
Yeah.
how many miles are on those buses when?
I don't
when we
know.
would typically want to take them out of service?
You know, some of them we put on there had over 300,000 miles. A lot of that depends on the maintenance.
And these 3 buses that you're talking about that are able to be repaired are under 3,000 miles, or under 100,000 miles?
Yes.
Interesting, okay, thank you.
So I have graduated from Willits Unified School District. And in my graduation, I've received, I think in 5, but I can only remember 4 right now, local scholarships. There was a Philip Ed Dickerman, Kiwanis, Shower Optimus, and Rotary. And in the dinner award banquet, they mentioned to me that we want you to come back and repay the community. I felt I have. My tenure here has been admirable. Depending on who you talk to, though. It was my job to make sure that students got to and from as safe as possible, and I took that job very seriously. I took it more seriously than a lot of the shops around here take it, because the cargo you have to haul, I never chimped on anything. Everything was first class, top of the line work. I must sadly say that I've fallen short because I haven't been able to repay my community because of inappropriate, humiliating, and degrading comments. I resigned. There's nothing I wanted to do more than anything else to retire out of this district. I was that close. And after the first person up here, it's not just me. It saddened me to have to do that, but my health is more important to me than this job. I love this job. I just don't like who's in charge of it. And that's all I have to say.
Are there any other public comments?
I'd like to make a public comment, if I may. Is this about it, anything?
Please come to the
just
podium,
about
please.
what you got on your agenda?
It's about what?
Is it about anything you, or do I have to stick to something that's on your agenda?
No, this is for things that are not on the agenda.
Okay, all right. I thought I had it all down until I found out I can't mention any names, so it's gonna make it rough.
Sir, could I have your name for the minutes?
Oh, sorry. Name's Ray Bean.
Thank you, sir.
Transportation should be all about the safety of our children. A little bit of history on the old past transportation boss. She was the head of maintenance and transportation by herself, okay? She didn't need 6 people to do her job. She was really good. She retired, okay? My wife turned out to be her right-hand person. She spent 25 years working with the past maintenance transportation person. I can see you're all squirming in your chairs now because you don't want to hear this crap. My wife Deborah was the best worker in the transportation department for the old boss. When the old boss was busy with maintenance, because she was doing 2 people's job by herself, my wife made sure that the transportation stuff was all taken care of for the old transportation boss. When the old transportation boss, she was out for 6 weeks for a training course quite a few years back. Guess who did her job? My wife. The old boss took another 6-week vacation once, and I guess you can guess it. But now, the old boss, my wife did her job that 6 weeks period too. My wife is all about safety for your kids. She's been driving school bus for 27 years. I know there's a lot of people that know my wife. There's a lot of kids that know her. I see them all the time. Here's the safety problem, okay? The laws of a bus driver. You have to check out your bus every day. Last week, while checking out her bus, she discovers that the rubber lip inside the brake compartment was put on upside down, and all the brake fluid was all over the motor and half the fluid gone. So what are you supposed to do? Okay? You go tell your superintendent, the boss. I'll call this person the boss, the new boss. She tells him she can't lawfully drive this bus because CHP law says that the bus driver is liable. And that she told him that she'll have to check out another bus and drive that bus. Huh. This new boss has got a problem. He says, no, you go home for refusing to drive. She didn't refuse to drive. It's against the law to drive this bus. It has brake fluid all over it. Half the brake fluid gone. Okay? They tell her to go home. Really? And then a sub driver gets in the bus and drives off and goes and delivers kids that day. And the next day. Okay, by the old transportation boss, I spent about 2 hours talking to her today. And if a bus don't check the checkout by CHP law, that bus doesn't go out that day. If something were to have happened, like a bus wreck, and because it wasn't serviced properly, because they have amateurs doing it, now the clearance is gone, and the bus was driven anyways, okay? If it would have gotten a wreck that day and run out of brakes and killed the bus driver, the kids, and blah, 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 that's when everybody wakes up. Oh yeah, geez, We should have paid attention to the last year and 10 months to see what the hell is really going on down there. My wife's put in 25 years at this school district. And the head of transportation is bullying her out just like they bullied Clarence out. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any public comments?
Yes, please. So my name is Becky Bowles, and I'm here to talk to you about the elephant in the room. The issues that no one wants to talk about, the ones that will affect this high school, the ag department, and students for a decade or more to come. These issues, by inaction or action, will be resolved this week. If it is the district's intent to give high school students the opportunity to acquire advanced, industry-ready metal fabrication and engine skills, and to provide a viable pathway to that end, the district is failing miserably. No one has the guts to tell the community that the district's $1 million building only has 2 isolated classes without the advanced skills that were promised. Between the metal and wood shops, there is 1 office by design. Conceptually, 2 people can share it, but it was certainly designed for full-time positions where construction, machining, engines, woodworking, and advanced welding can be taught all day and night for the high school and college credit. The only functional program models involve stakeholder resident instructors teaching integrated and college night classes. This advanced vocational pathway will prepare students for intern and apprentice positions available in our community. The same industry that has been asking, begging, and demanding for years. Although the high school is heading in that direction, the evolution is being hindered by administrative favoritism and incompetence. Administration has not followed through with the promise to the community, leaving our facilities underutilized and students unskilled. 2 years ago, administration hired an individual with the same skill set I possess, rather than a complementary one. There are no goals for a diversified future at Willits High School, certainly not in step with student needs. The high school and district were placed on a path that would limit vocational skills for the foreseeable future. Consequently, community, student, department, and high school needs will not be met. Let's talk numbers. For the past 2 years with the new ag teacher, that's 2 ag teachers right now, there are 118 and 117 students in the ag program. The previous 6 years, by myself, starting in 2008, there were 107, 82, 72, and for the last 3 years, before the new hire, there were 90, 92, and 95 students. The district is paying a full-time teacher's salary for an additional 20 to 30 students. That alone should tell you there are problems. Too many teachers in the same skill set, too few students. The science department classes are underfilled because of the ag department debacle. There is no rational planning, and the situation is a mess. Why not hire a teacher with complementary skills, one who can teach advanced welding, motors, and machining for a more diversified course offering? The best student outcomes are obtained from a diverse curriculum where students are allowed to find that area where they have an aptitude, a concept that has been successful at Willits High School since 1970. The Ag Department's teacher salaries are funded through reserves from the Mendocino County Office of Education, ROP, CTE, all that included, that will expire in 4 to 5 years. At that point, you as board members will have the job of pulling additional funds that you don't have for an educational redundancy, still without being able to meet the needs of the student body, the high school, or the community. Without timely action, Willits High School will have a dysfunctional ag department rather than one where diverse offerings will allow for additional pathways in food science as well as advanced metal and machine and power options. Bring the elephant out of the room so it will no longer be able to dominate future student outcomes. The top-down approach has not worked. My expectation is that you, as a governing body, will act upon this before it becomes too late. Hire the correct positions to align with the needs in our community. Thank you very much.
All right, so we have any other public comment? Paul?
Some of what I had to say initially has been said, but there are just some things I need to stress for you from last month's meeting in particular. That a few months back, before last month, it was made really clear to all of us that the board as a whole strongly believed that all of the employees currently employed, especially the long-term ones, were the ones that it would be really important to our district to keep. Could we work that out? Could we make sure that the needs were still there for them and that they still had the skill set and the mindset to stay here? And since those few months back, it's really become quite true in certificated as well as classified staff that people are not quite so interested in being loyal and dedicated to Willits Unified School District. I believe a lot of that is happening in classified just because I've been seeing it a lot more up front, and I think it spills over then. And when you hear about the high school and some of the issues, they're not only happening at the high school, they just aren't happening so concentratedly at the other sites. However, it does need to be understood that when you have an employee for 15 or 20 or more years, and they feel in the last year that they have been harassed or unfairly treated, reprimanded, or being given administrative leaves, well, then you cause a lot of domino effect of trouble and discomfort. Last month, remarks were made that people are absent, the implication being they are absent for an inordinate amount of time. And yet it was never ever mentioned to anyone, and if I didn't know it personally, I would have never known, that the people that were being discussed as having these huge numbers of absences are people who were out on medical leaves that you as a board okayed and approved, but it didn't sound like that last month. It also was so borderline blatant illegal that it's disheartening. You may not single people out, and you certainly may not allow that their medical needs be forced into public to explain or justify why they weren't at work. The other instances that have come up, especially just a couple of weeks ago, where people go in and complain to their supervisor that there is a health issue or some other risk that needs to be seriously contemplated, and they're told, well, just go home. Almost as if they were some 7-year-old that was disobedient and needed to be punished. And frankly, administrative leaves are punishments. The thing about an administrative leave is that it implies that you've done wrong and you'll have to stay away until an investigation has been completed. But the truth about an administrative leave, which I know all of you can look up by yourselves, you don't have to depend on me, but the truth is you have to give reason for that before you give the leave. That isn't what happened just a couple of weeks ago, which really puts the board and the administration in a less than stable or firm position when it comes to the complaints that will come of that going up the ladder to the ultimate decision makers. There's another issue about filing complaints that has come up real frequently, and one of those has just happened for a second time, this time by certificated staff, that their complaints are not going to be accepted. You may not tell someone when they file a complaint, I don't want it, just keep it. You don't get to do that, and there is a chain of hierarchy, which unfortunately, as you okayed for part of a couple of weeks ago, and as is continuing to come up before this district, and it will within the next 2 months probably bring itself before you as a board, there are rules and there are procedures to follow. And there is accountability, and as much as you choose to not think about it, you really can't play ostrich. You really do have to face it up front and deal with it. And just so that you know it's coming. Okay, then those were the biggest deals. I know they have been discussed, but it's just really important that you take them a little more seriously than thanks and no response for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And not that I expect the board to act as a micro-organizer of any sort, I do expect that you are with the obligation to make sure that from the top of the administrative ladder down, what you expect to happen happens, and you sort of go back and check up on it. It's called follow through, and you make sure that that works the way that it should. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Does anybody else have any comments? Okay. Move on to information items. We have 6 items.
Yes, we have several presentations. The first one with our special education department, sir.
Okay.
Director Davis is here.
All right.
So we have some students who are anxiously awaiting to see a little video that I have. But I'm going to take you through just some statistics on what's going on in the special ed department so far this year. We're down a little bit because we have declining enrollment. So about this time last year, we had about 250 students district-wide who had IEPs, individualized education programs, and right now we're at about 231, and that's about 14% of our district. We have classes at every one of our sites for special education. They range from what we call special day classes, where the students are in a program throughout their day, getting support for life skills and basic academics. And then we have resource programs that are designed for students who have learning disabilities and need extra support for math and reading, more academically focused. And actually, the number for our kids with learning disabilities in the district is 106, and that's really higher than the state average. And that's a number that I think we can see go down as we're really starting to implement more interventions at the elementary level. We have 11 students with autism, and I think I talked about this last year. It's a really fast-growing area of disability. If you want to know a lot about autism, watch on April 2nd. It's World Autism Day, and so there'll be all kinds of activities and things going out to really talk about autism awareness. So we really want, as much as possible, and it's actually our legal obligation, to have students in what we call the least restrictive environment possible. So if they can be in the class with everybody else, that's fantastic. That's where we want them to be, and it's really what we work hard for. And then if they need extra supports, we want to bring those extra supports to them rather than having them have to leave their general classroom and go somewhere else. So they're all of our kids. I want to talk a little bit about some of the other kinds of disabilities that we have for students in our district. We have 6 students with orthopedic disabilities, a variety of different things. 15 students with intellectual disabilities, 19 with emotional needs, and 48 with speech and language. And that could be anything from just having a hard time saying your F to actually having trouble talking or communicating at all. We have a couple of special programs within our department, and one of our students here to talk about workability in a little bit. It's a grant, and it actually helps provide wages for students to be placed in jobs in the community. And so we have 70 students in the workability program, and actually 19 of them are employed through the grant, and you might see them out and about in the community, and you'll see in a little video clip in a minute that people in various places. Community Learning Center is for students who are 18 to 22, so young adults, and one of the students that I brought with me is in our CLC program. And then we have our counseling enriched programs, which is really to help change students' behavior when they're, really kids who have great potential, but they're having difficulty with anger or frustration, and it's hard for them to, really focus on, the task in front of them. And then we also have a group of kids that, we might not think about too much, but we're still responsible for them. We have kids that have such needs that we can't serve them here in our own community. And so our district is responsible for kids who go outside of our district to get supports and treatments that are in other places. So we have a student who is at the California School for the Deaf, and he's actually living there and getting all of the wonderful things that go along with
learning sign and being a part of the deaf community. And then we have a couple kids in programs in Santa Rosa, and we have a student who is in a program in Ukiah. And so those are things that are available to kids if they need them, you know, and obviously, you know, like I said at the little target there, the goal is really least restrictive environment and having our kids be a part of what everybody needs to do. Dakota, do you want to put the little video clip? And so I thought instead of me talking too much about our programs, we'd show what some of our students are learning and doing, and a couple of them came to see themselves, so hopefully the video will play.
You're on the spot now. Here you go. Does it make it big? Will it play?
Now my first question is, what's your name and what grade are you in?
My name is Tony. I am in 4th grade.
4th grade. And can you tell me what kind of program you're doing with Mrs. Wise?
Timesing, my math, and reading.
Math and reading. Has reading been kind of hard for you before?
Yes.
Yeah? What things does Mrs. Wise do to help you with your reading?
She helped me on the words.
What's a hot time and a cold time?
You have to be at a special point in reading to, like, if you're reading something, it's like a packet, and you read it, and if you get it the first time, like read past your goal, that's your goal time, and if you get like 100% or 102 or something like that, you pass and you go straight to the next one. If you do it again, then you go up. Like right now, I'm at 3.5.
That's really good. So are you getting faster?
Yeah.
Very cool. First question is, what is your name and what grade are you in?
My name is Karen, and I'm in 4th grade.
How has Mrs. Wise's class helped you to be a better reader?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons. We do AR tests sometimes here. It's like 4th grade reading.
Wow. So you're going to get up to your grade level. Awesome.
When I get to 50, then I'm on 5th grade.
So, Gunnar, tell me what some of your goals are for your future, now that you're getting better at reading.
My goal is trying to make the world a better place.
Tell me your name, what grade you're in.
I'm in Jules, and I'm in 5th grade.
All right. So, Jules, tell me about the special program you do with Ms. Wise.
Well, Miss Wise helps us to, like, reading, like...
Very cool. And you also work with Miss Patty, the school psychologist?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? What do you do with Patty? What does she help you with?
She helped me with my anger.
Oh. What, did you, like, have skills that you practice?
Yeah.
Yeah? What kind of things do you practice with her?
Sometimes we, like, today I got frustrated, and one of my things I used is, like, I put my head down.
And that helps you calm down? That's great. So are you getting better at using your skills? Super job. All right. What kind of goals do you have for your future, Jules? That you want to accomplish?
I want to accomplish being a teacher.
Wow. Really? And what's your favorite part of being in Mrs. Wise's class? What's the best part?
Being smarter and being a better reader.
Awesome.
So this is one of the pull-out resource programs, and these are some of the curriculums. They're all, you know, state-adopted curriculums, but they're supplemental. So they just need really some drilling down with phonics, or you know, some math in addition to what they're getting in the general ed class. I don't have the video, but I have some pictures of our special day classes. This is Rochelle Shockley's class at Blosser, and she did a little activity about our students and their dreams. To get a good night's sleep and go to school all day. So one of our little girls has a seizure disorder, and it's hard. She wakes up a lot, so that's something that she wants to do. To be able to communicate and to have friends. To be a wrestler. So same dreams as everybody does. And then we have peer-mediated instruction, where the kids from our SDC actually go in and work with kids from our general ed classes in the library. These are our SDC kids at Brookside.
Can you tell me your name and what grade you're in?
My name is Ray. I'm in 7th grade. I go to this school called BTMS. It stands for Spectacle Men's School. Yeah.
And can you tell me about what you do in Mr. Betray's classroom? What kind of things do you do in here?
I do science. I do social studies, and I do history and about states and countries and all cultures. Yeah, that's what I do.
All right, tell me about some goals that you have for yourself. Things for your future, some goals.
To be a Raiders football player, I guess. To be a QB.
How has Mr. Betray's class helped you to get closer to your goals?
It's been really good.
Yeah, you think it's helping you make your goals?
Yep.
All right, your name?
My name, Martine.
Yeah, what grade are you in, Martine?
8th grader.
Yeah?
Next year I go high school. I'm roadside losser. I do not know how to read. I know how to read now.
You're kidding, so you really have made a lot of progress. You couldn't read before and now you can? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about yourself from getting all this help in Mr. Betray's class?
Proud.
Yeah, I think that's a great feeling, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is Mr. Betray's
Right, so tell me your
class.
name and your grade.
This is our counseling programs for kids with behavioral
Right.
needs.
And you're in Miss Dillman's program?
Yes.
What kinds of things do you work on in Miss Dillman's class?
Well, we do all kinds of, we do science, we do like life science, physical science, earth science. Science we recently learned was photosynthesis and...
So she has a point system in your class? Tell me about like how the point system works. Like how do you earn points? And what do you do with your points?
So if you get the lowest you can, so to go to honors room, you have to get a 75 or a 9, or anything between 75 and 90.
So tell me like what is honors room? If somebody doesn't
Honors
understand
room
the
is free
program.
time.
So you earn that for just like doing the right thing, following directions and stuff? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. What else are you working on?
Well, we have social skills,
Uh-huh.
and the social skill we just started this week is quick and efficient transitions.
Oh, very good. Okay. Anything else you want to say about the program?
It's fun.
All right. So tell me your name and your grade.
My name is Jacob Schubert, and I'm in 8th grade.
Okay. And you have Miss Meineke for resource. What kind of things does she do in resource that helps you?
She helps me read.
And then sometimes the resource aides like Allie and Johnny, do they go into your other classes too sometimes for support?
Yeah, Allie goes into my science and math, so then she can help us, and she does the same thing as Miss Meineke, but in our classes.
That's great. So you're just like in there with everybody else, but you just have a little extra support, right?
Yeah, and if I don't understand stuff, they break it down. Make it easier.
Tell me some of your goals. What kind of goals do you have, like for your future?
For my future, like in high school?
Sure.
Oh, I want to get passing grades and try to get into all of my regular classes, and I'm going to try to get into sports again. I'm going to try to keep up my grades for that too.
Great.
And then when I get out of high school, I wanted to go to the Marines.
So this is the high school counseling enriched class, and sometimes they just do skills like learning how to tie a tie, because you have to have certain life skills. So it's about academics, but sometimes it's about things that are really going to translate into what you do in your everyday world. And actually, Mr. Kramer's counseling enriched classes started monthly potlucks, and kids come and the peer counselors come and hang out, and so it's really all integrated together. Miss Dodge has kids do hands-on projects, so they read Harry Potter and then they were painting a Harry Potter mural. Our school psychologists teach executive functioning. So Patty Dalton has gone into Donna Allen's kindergarten, and they're doing what we call mindfulness.
It helps you calm down and it helps you listen to the teacher. Mrs. Bodie. It seems helped me feel where I can be calm and listen to what the teachers say, and for I can learn and know what to do. This is Roman and Bodie. We hope you will see this video. Bye.
I am a senior.
And this is
Okay.
workability.
And you're doing the workability program?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the job that you're doing through workability.
Well, I was the one that suggested this place to Terry, the one who helped me get the little job here. And it's mainly just kind of cleaning and stocking.
What kinds of skills are you learning as a part of the program? Like employer skills?
Been slightly more social than I usually am. So,
How do you like your job here?
sure. It's very unique because not only do I get to see games, but we also have the game library, which are games that you can actually play with your friends in the store.
So I listed, and really any job that a student wants and is interested in, Terry, our workability coordinator, will make a connection with those employers and really help them connect. But anything from like Norcrawl has our kids, JD Redhouse has some of our students. We've had students work at the city of Willits in the office. And so, there's the world is really open to them. And then the last thing I want to do is have Nadith Medina, who's one of our workability students, come up and tell you a little bit about her workability experience. So we practiced this little interview just like the kids on the video. So tell me your name and what program you're in.
My name's Nadith Medina. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I'm nervous. This is my third year in Community Learning Center. My teacher is Sue James. She's awesome.
I didn't tell Can you talk about sort of some of the things you do in Community Learning Center?
Okay, we practice how to use public transportation. We do workability, which is awesome because I never worked. Really. We learn how to cook.
You taking classes at the college?
Yes. Oh yes. We go to college. I'm taking English 10, and I go on the bus.
And then right now we have you working in a workability job in our special ed office. So I get to know Nadith because she helps out Pat Harrison. What kinds of tasks are you doing as kind of secretarial tasks working with us?
I do paneling, which is my favorite. Right now I'm learning how to do paper cutting. It's really difficult. But I'm doing it. I'm not giving up.
Nice.
So.
And how about your plans for your future? And I don't know if you want to share this, but she's got some big future plans that have to do with something on her finger.
I'm engaged. And well, after CLC, I want to hopefully get a permanent job in the school district as a receptionist or something like that. But I want to be a receptionist.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you. This is a little bit about the special ed department.
Okay, that was heartwarming. Next item is item B, elementary counseling grant update. Who's
Yes.
going to do that?
We have a couple of presenters from the grant, and as the board may recall, this grant was scheduled to sunset June at the end of this school year, and we have some rollover dollars from our first year because we weren't able to hire all the staff for it, and we've contacted Washington, and they've given us a thumbs up to use that rollover dollars for next year. So this program will be in place, Willits Unified, for next year. It runs now currently at all your elementaries, Brookside, Gloucester, and Sherwood, and we have our marriage family therapist here to present tonight, so.
Thank you. So my name is Cindy Wiedemann. I'm a marriage family therapist and an expressive arts therapist. And I've been working here since last November. And so I get referred the most at-risk kids, the kids that are really acting out in the class, that have come to the attention, or parent referrals. And I did get permission from the parents to show some of the art that the kids have done. It's a powerful tool for kids, as they often have a difficult time expressing. And so it comes through the art, and that bridges the gap to being able to explore with them what the issues are. Okay, so I have a lot of stuff in here, so some of them I'm going to skip, and you might just get a blink of them, but you'll just have to kind of intuit some of what's happening. But this is a basic, this is called the bilateral warm-up drawing. It's a brain balancing exercise that they use both hands to do at the same time. And just this alone, every time, I can start to see progress, especially in kids with pervasive developmental disorders, begin to make some connections. Oops, where'd we go? Next. There you go. So this was done spontaneously after one of the warm-ups, and I thought it was very symbolic of how things started to connect for the child. Linked up connections were happening. I've taught it to teachers, and one child in particular, it's a tool that he uses when he starts to get out of focus. The teacher will remind him to go do his warm-up drawing to get him back in alignment with it. I try to teach it also with breathing exercises and slowing down, and you can bring a whole classroom down. So this was done by a 10-year-old girl who she and her mother holding their breath underwater, waiting for and hoping that their father, who has just relapsed into substance abuse after 20 years, will make it through rehab. I'm going to skip this one. This kinesthetic stand there is in the middle, which is my favorite new art therapy toy. I think I'm just going to, that's a lot of explaining there. This was a depressed boy. He has rest in peace on the bottom. Came to me very disturbed about what was going on in his family. Volcanoes are often, children will express explosive, angry, mad feelings through images of volcanoes. This was a distressed family, parent-child relationship that ended up kind of taking us into a CPS report. When I saw this image, this was a child who had been wanting counseling for a year, but his mother felt that it was going to interrupt his academics. And so when he finally got it, this was the first image he did. And this really worried me initially because of the disembodied parts, the eyes being cut out and put other places. I had seen this kind of work in schizophrenics in an inpatient hospital, so I was worried. But as soon as he kind of got in there and started expressing himself, these disembodied images disappeared. This was his next drawing the week after. His biggest fear was that his parents were separating, and he was so afraid that all of their fighting would make them lose their housing. I often use feeling charts to help them to bridge and understand their feelings. This was his as well. These were all the feelings he was having about the separation, and yet he tried so hard to pretend to be happy, but inside, he's sad. So what he did was he started building his own island, because his parents were going different directions. And this was the way that he was able to kind of provide himself with support. So we have this is himself, and there's a dog in there. And he started building on it, and pretty soon the animals came, and he started making houses for the animals. And at the guy laying down there is the guard of the island. And so some of these projects go on for weeks that are very nourishing to them and help them to feel stable with their current situation. The significant part, this is a family drawing that a 7-year-old did. not of the people that are there, but the ones that are missing. And the ones that are missing are her two siblings that are 2 years old, that now take a lot of her mother's time, and so she no longer has that kind of attention. So we're working with her on appropriately expressing her anger and frustration about losing all of that attention from her mother. This is a little boy who lost his father. He was the custodial parent 2 years ago. He died, and he's now in foster care. It took a long time for us to get to the grief and loss issues as they usually do. But this is a memorial box for his father. The memories, a memory book inside. So I went out, the thing that he could really remember most was that he liked baseball. And so I got baseball paraphernalia, and he's worked weeks and weeks to make this memorial for his father, which helps him to grieve the loss of him and move on. So that's just a little bit of what I've been doing. It's been a lot of fun, and I've loved sharing this with you and being a part of all of this. So thank you. I'd like to introduce you to Jackie Hers, my colleague and social worker.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, we love working with Cindy. She's good for all of us. She calms everything, calms us too. She's really great. So I am, my title is social worker with the elementary counseling grant, and I have the honor of being the only person who's been with the grant from the get-go since January 2014. I originally was working at all three of the elementary schools, but this year, since we were down a counselor at Brookside, I started taking over a few more duties there, and so not doing as much work, not doing any work at Sherwood this year. I wear a lot of hats in my job, and since this is going to be brief, I'm just going to touch on a few of the main things that I get to do with this work. My main focus really is working with the families. The guidance counselors address the needs of the children and the school psychologists and so forth, and the teachers, of course. But I spend a lot of my time doing outreach with our families. I will often get a referral from teachers or the counselors or the secretaries who, as everybody knows, actually run the schools, that they know what's going on, and they will come and say they have a concern about a child. Maybe the child doesn't have appropriate winter wear, or they heard the child say something, or they overheard, they know it's a small town, they know something is going on in the community with the family. So I will make phone calls to the family and try to meet with them, and then try to connect them with whatever services they need, whether it's doing referrals for outside therapy, or connecting to DSS, or some of the food bank or various other community organizations that we have here in Willits, and helping them figure that out, because that can be pretty overwhelming where you don't know quite where to begin. One thing we were able to do with this counseling grant that I'm real happy about was with McKinney-Vento funding, which is funding that schools get for students that are homeless. We were able to purchase some laundry vouchers, which is a great need for families that are homeless, obviously. When you don't know how you're gonna, where you're sleeping, the last thing you have money for is paying for your laundry. So that's been a really, really wonderful thing. Wonderful thing to be able to do. And I try to meet the families literally wherever they are, whatever works for them. They meet me at school, we talk on the phone. I had one family last year that I worked with pretty closely that the only place I could meet mom was at her work, and her phone service was pretty spotty. So I would meet her at her job. Just luckily it was right in town, so it wasn't far away. And on her breaks, we would sit outside on the sidewalk and talk about planning. So it's been really nice with this counseling grant to be able to have that that freedom to do that kind of thing. And made a few home visits, and whatever the families need. The other major thing I do with families is I'm the person who gets to lead the parenting classes about trying to get better behavior out of your kids. We are right now in the 5th round of these parenting classes, and it's been a lot of fun. We have between about 4 to 9 people come each time, and actually I have 3 parents who have at different times taken the class twice because they really enjoyed it and they wanted to reinforce what they learned, so that's been really, really nice. And then really briefly, I also get to do some work with the students. I'm one of the people who does the restorative practices, which I'm sure you've heard about, that goes school-wide, but I get to do that with the elementary kids. Second step, which you've probably heard of before with the social emotional curriculum, conflict mediation, crisis intervention, filling in when colleagues can't be there to lead groups with children. And as Kelly mentioned, Patty Dalton, who's a school psychologist, she and I have been starting to do mindfulness in the classrooms. And Patty, is working specifically with some of the kids that have IEPs that are in special ed, but also she's doing whole classroom, and I'm also doing whole classroom, and this is a new thing, and so far so good. Keep your fingers crossed. It's a nice, easy tool that we're trying. So anyhow, thank you very much. I never run out of work to do. I will tell you that. There's always more. But I have really, really enjoyed this. So.
If I could, just as we move forward after next year, I think the district really needs to scrutinize the work that this team does and continue it at our elementary level. It's having a very positive impact on the students that come to us that do have some issues and concerns and just needs that time and that dedicated person. So we very much are appreciative of the work they do and hope it will continue.
Okay, I note that during this presentation, a number of new members of the audience showed up. They've been engaged in the advisory committee interview of the superintendent candidates all day today. And we're very thankful for their service. The next item is D, charter school participation in athletics update. This is an information item.
Actually, there's a board policy, just a real quick review. You have this in your packet.
Oh, excuse me. Board policy, volunteers in the classroom.
And this was brought to you at the request of a parent or a comment that was made by the public last time. We do have a volunteer policy in place. It is it supports the district in bringing parents or individuals from the community on campus and making sure that we're providing a safe environment by having those volunteers take a Department of Justice verification that there's nothing in their past that would be of concern to the school administration or the safety of our students. So there's some highlighted areas on your document, and we do require that all of our volunteers take fingerprints, and once you do it once, it's good forever in our district, and it's been a very effective program. It's taken time to take hold. We've been doing it now for about 18 months, but I think that all parents understand it and are following through with it. So that's what that update was.
Who bears the cost?
The parent does. In the very initial phases, the PTAs or PTOs at the sites were helping to support that fee, and I don't believe any of them are doing that at this time. So it is bared by the parent.
How much does it cost?
I'm thinking it's about...
It's like $12.
Yeah.
And?
That's $44 total.
Total, $44.
They gotta go through the live scan?
Yeah.
They go down, we recommend they go down to Ukiah, they're at the sheriff's station, and do it, only because they can get it back to us real quick. We've done it locally at our city, and it's taken a long time to get it back. So usually these are parents that want to go to a field trip or participate in something in school, and we want that result back quickly.
We have a comment back here.
I coach basketball at Michael Grove, and we spend some of the fundraising money that we do to supplement the parents that have to get fingerprinted, because as you all know, it's up to the sports team itself and the parents to get the kids to and fro from games. And so we help, that's our way that we can help parents, is So that's one way that it's being supplemented, being paid for.
That's
Yes.
kind of being handled by the science.
Well, I was a teacher, and when that was implemented, it eliminated a bunch of parents that normally would go on field trips and things because they couldn't afford it. And to me, that's just not okay. It's not okay that we have a plan that these poor parents can't go because they can't afford it. And it's the one time, teachers get to intermingle with the parents, the kids get to be with their parents and show off and do whatever, and I just think it's really wrong. I understand the premise of it, but I think it's wrong because we're hurting parents and we're hurting kids by having a school if it's for a field trip, because there is a teacher there. And, unless it's an overnight thing or something, but there's gotta be a way. Or couldn't we have somebody come at the beginning of the year and have it right at the school and have it at a minimal cost if they wanna be, help in the classroom, go on field trips or whatever. There's gotta be another way because it's not fair to the parents that can't afford it.
I do agree. I think the biggest complaint I've heard from people is just the time to travel to Ukiah to get it done and back versus the cost. I mean, more people say, I just can't find the time to drive down there. I mean, if we could look into sometime before the beginning of the year, have, a mobile unit up here. I don't know what that would cost, but if there's something, if we could look into that at least to see, the possibility of bringing it up here and have I know the Little League, they do it, but I don't think they I'm not sure if they do the same requirements, we're
Exactly.
asking for, but.
We looked at, board member trustee Rodriguez had mentioned that when she was on the board, and we looked into it and were unable to get somebody to commit to coming up, but we can certainly pursue that again. Anything that helps our parents to be involved in school activities, certainly we're in support of, but we also need to support that we're providing the safety aspect to people, adults around our children. So we will absolutely continue to pursue that and see what we can do to support that.
We give a report back to us, what you find out.
Certainly, absolutely.
Is this a requirement under the Ed Code?
Yes, this is Ed Code requirement.
49024.
When did this Ed code go into effect?
Well, I've
I
been
mean,
aware
should
of
we
it
have been
for
doing
quite
it for a
while.
long time ago?
Yes, it should have been going
But
on
it
for a
hasn't
very
been
long time.
policy, right?
No. This district did not update their board policies in a consistent manner. Prior to my arrival, I believe same year that you originally underwent the strategic planning workshops and so on, it was brought to the attention of the superintendent that board policies should be updated on a regular basis to reflect the laws of the state of California. And so they went through a whole bunch of revisions, and I'm sure this was one that came in through that. It was certainly passed before I came on board.
Okay.
For my own personal experience, my youngest child's 8th grade trip to San Francisco, we had a convicted rapist talking to our students about smoking pot. He rode the bus, he was a parent, and yet he was allowed to go. So I'm all for the fingerprinting and the background checks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.
Okay, yes, Sabrina?
I'm happy to hear that we're gonna keep looking into a mobile
Yeah.
service that will come and do on-site fingerprinting. Back to school nights are a great time to get some fingerprinting done. And I do know that there are people out there. Like you said, Willits Youth Soccer, we have somebody that comes and does it on-site, and it's fairly inexpensive. I would ask that the board maybe in the meantime consider the possibility of a funding source so that parents don't have to come up with that money. Although it may cost something, we talk about how we want parents involved in the lives of our children in the classroom. Well, what better way to truly send a message that we want them in the classroom? And we know that teachers need support, so maybe consider a funding source, because I know that right now the only way to get that funded, if you're a parent, is you have to get a reimbursement through the PTO after you put in a certain number of volunteer hours. And I think that's good, but I think that we can do a little bit better. So I would just ask that the board take that under consideration.
Thanks, Sabrina. Can you send me the contact information for that?
And to the superintendent as well? Okay.
Though I have to say, I think the reimbursement is not a bad way to go, simply because, I mean, for me, I don't mind paying the fee. I'm happy as a parent to pay the fee to go have it done. And so for me, I'm not taking away those funds. It's people who, that wanna seek out the reimbursement. I'm not, you know.
If we had a hardship fund or something.
Yeah,
if-
we
if
could have
there
something
was
like that,
something
but-
that if it was difficult for the family, like they're saying, or something that we could maybe.
Part of the problem is going down to Ukiah, like you
Right.
said, but when they go down to Ukiah, they'll walk in and the lady says, oh, I've gotta go to lunch. Well, the person that went down only has that block. And so that's what I've heard lots of times, is that every time I've gone down 3 or 4 times, every time I go, they're not available, they just shut the door, whatever, and so that happens a lot. So, anyway.
Okay.
No, one more.
Yes, Ann?
I just want to clarify the PTO policy at Brookside. They do ask that parents volunteer at 2 different events. It could be just come to the classroom twice to volunteer in order to be reimbursed, or come to 2 family events. This last year we paid over $1,500 and had very little return for the investment. So this year they changed the policy, trying to encourage volunteers to come back in.
Great.
They will reimburse, and they will also allow parents to do something for the PTO and then pay for it upfront if they need it.
Okay. All right. Now we're on charter information item, charter school participation in athletics update.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, superintendent. Honored guests. Yes. First of all, before we start right into this, I want to just let you know that everything is just absolutely wonderful at the high school. And quite honestly, as a principal and working there personally, there are a lot of wonderful things happening at the high school, and the students' spirit, I believe, is up thanks to people like this young man here who's been working hard. The parents are feeling that we care more for the children and what's happening. I still need to work with our teachers though, and they're so important. And I do want to give a recognition to the 2 teachers who did come up. It takes a lot of courage to come up and say what they did. And I also want to show appreciation to those teachers, because this isn't the first time. I've met with the leadership group. They presented me with the document, and then they asked I put in writing how I'm going to address that. I put it in writing for them, and we met again, and they seemed satisfied with what I put in writing. And that was last Friday. And this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've been implementing a lot of the things that I said I would implement, and will continue until that whole checklist is off. However, they still felt it was needed. They still needed to come to the board to express themselves, and I said, "You're welcome to come to the board." And I told them, "No hard feelings. I'll love you no matter what you do," and I do. And I've also spent hours with Mrs. Bowles in regards to her concerns, and her concerns are real. And I'm working and noodling out how we're going to address the issue of our ag mechanics and taking it to a different level. However, we do have some things that are going very well. So there's still work to be done. I appreciate that the staff came forward as they did. But I appreciate more that they first came to me and allowed me to work on it. And so we are working on their concerns. My perception may not be exactly as their perception, or maybe of what Will's perception may be, or other people's perception, but to them that perception is real, and so I have to address it, because our teachers have to feel safe, they have to feel supported, and that's the only way they're going to do their job well. So I will work immensely hard on making that happen. So I just wanted to say that.
Could you address, just for the benefit of everyone, the reason for your absences?
Yes, and I appreciate that, because one thing I did want to say, all of their concerns really stem from my absences, because I was involved in a court that I was required to attend until Mr. Neary coached me on how to get out of that. But he did. I was required to attend, and so I used Mr. Neary's name and got out of it, which I needed to because of the staff. I mean, they need their principal there, but there's a lot of research that supports that the most stressful, difficult position in all of education is the high school principal. And so for a high school principal to come in only 2 days many times, or 3 days at the most, and get all that work done, and and more importantly, get the people work done. Get that one-on-one with the teachers and build those relationships. Because when I would come in, Rose, is Rose here? Where's my Rose? Oh, she's back there. Rose has my calendar, and so when I come in, my calendar would just be filled with things that I had to get done, that had to be done, but I wasn't able to make the connection with the teachers like I should have, although I made myself as available to the parents and the students and participated in as many events as I could. And I think, and Will, you check me if I'm wrong, okay? But I'm thinking the students are feeling so much better. I've had numbers, I mean literally over a dozen parents come up and thank me because their child is having a great year. And in the past, for whatever reason, their child was not happy, and they thanked me. So I've been out for court. And then just most recently, I was in the hospital for 4 days for some internal bleeding. Nobody knows why, but it just happened. And they say you're healthy as a horse, except you're bleeding inside. But they stopped that, and I'm fine. And I almost have all my blood back. I'm about 90%, so I'm good.
So now you can start going to Georgianne, because if you're healthy as a horse, she's a horse veterinarian.
So anyways, you know, I did bring our... I brought all the PowerPoint we've been doing over the time. So this is like the 3rd time up, and so that's why I think I put part 3 up there. And I'm not going to go over each slide, but I may review just a few slides. One of the ones that we had, we compared ourselves to other schools, and we do not allow Fs. And I was able to get more information, and I did speak to our teachers, and many of our teachers are proud that we have the no F policy. Just recently, I attended the basketball awards ceremonies, and we had I hope I get this right, if I mix them up, I'm going to be in trouble. But we had I want to say a JV girls basketball that had an average of 3.37 or something along those lines. That may not be exact. We had a boys varsity basketball that averaged 3.50 as a team. And then we had a girls varsity average of 3.67. So they were not only athletes, but they're scholars. And so in speaking to teachers as recently as yesterday, they were saying that F policy, they want to maintain that F because they believe that our kids can do it. It kind of sets the bar up there for them to reach that F. However, one teacher, in fact, one of the teachers that was speaking was saying, however, they did want to keep the probation in to give the kid a chance to make it back, but they did want to keep the 1 F in. So
just so I understand, if you have 1 F, you're disqualified, but you can qualify for probation.
Right, but if you maintain that F, then you're out.
Okay.
Then you're out. And so that's the information I have. If at the end of this presentation you, or now, I mean, you're bored, you can do whatever you'd like. But if you want to give further direction or you want to leave it as is, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll move ahead. We okay to move ahead? Okay, great. So we talked about the multi-school CIF membership, and I'm not going to go through all these, as I said. I talked about the process and all the things that needed to be done. Those are all the organizations that have to okay it. So you know, the principal school boards of both schools and the CIF member league and CIF member section and the CIF executive committee. So all of those have to be approved, and this is done on a yearly basis. And those are dues and fees that we pay, and I'll show you the dues and fees later. You really, to add them on, the cost really wasn't that as much as I thought it was going to be, because we just made it. We talked about the considerations, of course, and we talked about the positives, access to greater number of athletes for our coaches, which could possibly produce better teams. It gives charters, of course, access to athletics, which they're not large enough to maintain. It may bring the community closer in regards to cohesiveness. However,
it's the adapter.
Oh, okay.
That's why it always says that.
But the other side is that we're responsible for everything. So if something goes wrong in the other school, we're still responsible. It may limit the number of WHS students that participate, especially in sports like basketball and baseball, where they have the cuts. And so our charter school student may bump one of our Wolverines, one of our students, like Will. No, just kidding, Will. Yeah, there will be increased costs, but when we really looked into it, it's minimal. Student and parent fairness concerns. When I did my research, what a lot of schools found was when their child got cut because a charter school came in, the parents would come in concerned and emotional. How about that? Because they're saying, I have my child going to your school and he's not making the team because an outside school comes in. And that seemed to bring a lot of friction with those schools who had charter schools. The other one is we have the application, the time costs, the time to apply each and every year. Realignment and divisional changes. I could not get the divisional changes because they're actually doing realignment. And divisional is like when you go into the playoffs and so forth. And so we cannot say if there's going to be some sports that will be realigned, like we may be in Ukiah's league, or all sports will be, depending on the size of the school. So we don't have that information because they're right in the process of realigning right now. And
who does the realignment?
It would be the league. So the league people are all working on how that's going to be realigned, who's going to be with who, and so forth and so on. And then they start talking about divisions and who goes where, and it's usually based on school size. Sometimes it is based on school performance over a number of years in a particular sport.
So this is an information item because we really don't have all the information yet, and we might need to, once we gather it, come back and look at this.
This is still an informational item. We do not know if it's going to affect us in divisional playoffs.
Will you bring it back to us when you find out?
Oh, most definitely. And the monitoring of non-CIF school students, it's much more difficult when we're here. I mean, we work hard to monitor the kids here, but now we'd have to monitor the kids outside to make sure that they're eligible and everything is copacetic with them so that they're able to play and we don't end up forfeiting a game or something because of that. But we're responsible. Ultimately, we will be responsible. Let's talk about the numbers here. With New Horizons and Willits High School, we have about 437. That's what we had this year. Hopefully that'll be going up next year. But with Willits and Levita Charter, they are at 83, because you asked me to bring in both of them. And
it's
I know I should have read a couple.
it's this. It needs a blessing.
Okay, there you go.
Nice job.
And of course, there are divisional considerations. The officials run about 32,000, but we're going to have to pay for them anyway. And it's actually over 33,000. The North Coast section fees. This is where we thought we were going to pay more, but we're not, because it's from 1 to 600. And if you add up 437 and 83, I think it comes out to like 520. So we won't have to pay more fees there. I thought we'd pay more because we go to the next one, but it's actually at 600, so we'd be staying under 600 unless we grew, and then we might go over 600. The Coastal Mountain Conference dues, the only additional cost in red is $29.05 to bring those charters in. And my thought is if the board decided to bring them in, I'm sure the charter would be happy to pay that additional cost. And there's also playoff fees, but that's all determinant on if you make the playoffs, if you're in the playoffs. So that's varies. I didn't put any number there. So that's where we're at with charters. Any questions? I think we're done with that. So, are there any questions with that?
No, I don't have a question, I have a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe this information is brought to us because of some questions that I asked last month at the board meeting. At no time was I suggesting that we include a charter school. I just wanted to know why. Because as some of the other board members know, and I'm sure Mrs. Rodriguez will tell you that the morning of a board meeting, you get phone calls from people saying, blah, 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 blah. And so that was the reason I was asking those questions. I was not on the board when it was discussed and brought before the board before. So it was just simply why, and I wanted to know why the charter schools and not the home schools. So I just want to clarify that. At no time did I ever suggest including them or not including them.
And actually, I do, you know, it's a variation of that is I'm inclined to believe that we ought to look seriously at including charter students in extracurricular activities. Just look at it, because I don't look at us in competition with the charter schools. I look at it as an alternative way for students in this Little Lake Valley, which I basically consider the center of the universe, to be educated. And so I think that our goal is not, you know, that the charter schools are sometimes looked at as competitors, and they do take ADA away from us, they do take money away from us, but it is a parental choice, and it is a policy, and we need to live with it. But I think we have to remember that these are all Willits kids, and so if there is a way to accommodate children from charter schools, I'd like to see that we lean over backwards and try to do it. But, you know, we need the information first to find out whether it's possible. Yes?
Can Becker Grove get up and speak also before?
I've called on Mike here.
Oh, sorry, Mike, I did not hear that.
It's okay. Don't let it happen again. I just wanted to clarify from what you said. It looks to me like you're talking about $30 would be the only difference in cost. Is that true?
At this point, and with where we're at in size, that would be the fees. There's also transportation fees that may be increased if we have, depending on how many players we have. I mean, transportation is always a difficulty. As many of you know, athletics pretty much supports themselves, and they work hard to raise their money for transportation. And our parents are so great, because I tell you, they drive these kids for hours around, and they do wonderful things for our babies, and I appreciate them. You know, there is a transportation issue, but that's not to say that charters would pitch in with transportation. I'm sure they would also. I gave you the pros and cons up there. I will tell you that, I mean, what I have received from people in regards to charter, from staff and others, they're really not for it. I mean, they really feel that if you want to participate in our sports, then become a Wolverine and become one of us and join us. And that's what I've gotten from the outside. I just want to let you know that in advance. And you may get a little bit of that right now.
Yeah. Somebody from Becker Grove wanted to, George Ann's
I have just one question. So one of my biggest concerns is liability. I mean,
I mean, that's part of what our ADA covers is our student liability, I'm assuming. Is this, I mean, I guess that's what I'm concerned. If we
Yeah.
bring someone into our gym from the charter school and they get hurt, how does the liability work and what kind of cost is that? I mean, is that our North Coast sectional fees? Does some of that go to
Well,
liability too?
the children are all required to have their own insurance, so they have to show proof of insurance or buy insurance before they able to compete. And so that is one thing. However, there could be, if they're in our gym and there's a structure that is not fixed well and it falls on them or something happens, they'll always go after the deep pocket, which would be us. So yes, we are liable as a school district if something happens, or if a coach was having the kids do something that a reasonable person said wouldn't have a kid do, and they get hurt, then of course our school would be liable. We would assume any really deep pocket liability. Most definitely, if they're on our site and they're under our supervision, we would accept that. If they get hurt in football while they hit someone, they have their own insurance to cover that. But it's the, falling off the bleachers, or because the bleachers are not strong enough, or a coach not providing the appropriate supervision, or something like that, and a kid gets really hurt, then yes, then they would go after us, most definitely.
Okay, I promise you, it's your turn now.
I guess the only 3 of us stayed to present. Our whole staff was supposed to be here. So I'm missing,
Excuse me.
Oh, get up
You
here.
want all of us
This
over?
is a
I didn't see you
comment on
guys.
what we're talking about though, right?
You're not supposed to hide behind the posts. So I want to just address the whole idea of charter versus public school not being competitive, but in reality, from a parental perspective, it is a competition because each site has their own programs that they offer to try to lure students to their school, because really it's all about ADA. And for the most part, our programs that we have that sets us apart from the charter school are sports and our band program and our other things like web and these other side programs that we have. But ultimately it's these pieces that the charter doesn't have. And our biggest, our first concern is it's about programs. And it's about the charter has their program, we have ours. And so we just want to go down our list and say we did a positive and a delta. I liked it. The delta thing in our staff meeting. We also came up with very few, maybe one positive and a long list of deltas regarding this issue. So we'll just go each
And I do
person.
want to say our positive was that we firmly believe that all students should have a choice, that they should be able to play sports in the district. And then we discussed it, and it was determined that they do have that opportunity, and the opportunity comes from being at Bechtel. So it wasn't that our decision was, our thinking is based on, we do want kids to have that option, which is just what Mackenzie was saying too. There is an option. Sometimes they choose to go to a different school, but the option to play sports is there for them if they came to Bechtel. So
At least at the middle school level, the
Yes.
other option too is city leagues. Little league, city league basketball, it's not the same once you get to the high school level, but at the middle school level, in our community, there's a variety of choices.
So as far as from a coach's perspective, which I've done here in Willits Unified for the last 7+ years, it's a nightmare to coordinate between 2 schools when you're trying to figure out whether or not a student has met qualifications for either grades that week or behavior that week. It's really not an easy thing to do. I've had people actually pulled off of my sideline before during a game because I wasn't able to get a hold of the principal that day until that evening. So I think that we really need to consider, because it's a nightmare, it's not easy to do. Code of conducts, we are really big with our code of conducts. We push our students to behave the way that they're supposed to behave. And we expect them to behave that way out in public. And when they don't come to our school or go to our school, but they're still representing our school, it makes our school look bad if they don't behave the way they're supposed to in public. And so that's something that I think we need to be considerate of, is how they're representing our school, a school that they don't go to, just that they're playing sports for, which for people like me who love the school that I teach at, that's a big deal for me when we are getting a bad name from a student that doesn't even go to our school. And as a coach, again, it's a nightmare. It's not easy to do. I'm not the only coach that has said this. It's just not an easy thing to do. So thank you for your time.
My name is Tessa Ford, and I teach math over at Bechtel Grove Middle School. I was the one person that came up with the positive, and I do firmly believe that every child should have the opportunity to play sports. It was also brought to my attention that they do have the rec leagues. So the charter school does have access to sports, and it doesn't have to be through the school program. My concern is, as a math teacher, this is one of the subjects that students struggle with a lot, and I really appreciate being able to go to a coach at my school and say, hey, this kid's really having problems. I need to see them in intervention. I need to see them stepping up their game before they play a game. If we have students from other schools, how am I going to do that? How am I going to network with those principals and those students to help them get to where they need to be? Because academic excellence is an important part of being a sports player, and I'd like to see that upheld. So that access is a concern to me. Thank you.
I'm the shy one of the group. Again, I teach 7th grade core, language arts and social studies, and I have the same concerns that Tessa brought up. Now, before I came to the area, I was in Reading and I coached baseball for the junior high. And we brought in a charter school, just exactly what we were talking about. And we had the problems, the students did not become a team because it was competition between each other, because we had 3 games that had to be forfeited. Because a third of my team was made up of charter school kids, and because of something going on at the charter school, the kids stayed away without any notification to me, which I would have known if they were at my school. And so we had 3 different occasions we had to forfeit a game, which is really humiliating to the students. And I lost my best players because of that. So I was scrounging for a team that was 7th and 8th graders. I was going down to 5th graders to get kids to play. So there isn't a cohesive team when they're not at school together. That's one of the big things.
We just really want you to consider program, and that's what we want to end it with. That was our biggest, our most popular voted item on our list, was to think about program being offered, and just think about parents may change and seek out another program if they can get the best of both worlds. And thank you.
We did have other, we have a list here, but they were covered already, so
Yeah.
we're not going to repeat some of them. But some of the things that were already brought up were our concerns too. So,
And thank you for seriously considering what we've said here today. That really means a lot to us.
yes, thank you.
Well, since I've been an advocate of throwing this idea out, I'll just make the comment that momentum does not seem to be building for this idea.
Shall I distance myself
yes,
from
Paul.
you, Chris?
You should, I call him.
Sure. I just want to speak as a parent, both from the high school and the high school and Bechtel Grove
no longer Dr. Grove at the high school, that it's about choice, and in life we have to make choices. And as adults, you have to make choices. And you choose to go whether you want to go to the high school or Bethel Grove, and you choose whether you go to the charter school. And you look at what they offer when you make that choice. And sometimes, and we know this in life, you can't always have your cake and eat it too. And I think the kids need to know that when they're making a choice, you know, they need to make one and stick with it for whichever reasons you weigh the options, and you make a decision based on what it is that you're looking for.
Okay. Paul?
My name's Paul Riley. I've been a coach in Willits Unified School District. I just finished my 18th year, all in basketball. I'd like to talk about it at a level of high school, because what you have at stake at high school level is what's called playoffs. And if you're familiar with Willits, we are a Division IV school, which means we play against teams ranging from about 405 kids up to the 800 and something. I forget exactly what the number is. We are down at that lower half of it is where we're sitting. As of right now, my daughter runs cross country. She ran as a freshman for sectional championships in Division IV. This last year, it fell below that, so as a sophomore, she ran Division V. At Division V for cross country, they take the top 6 teams and they take the top 6 individuals. At Division IV, they take the top 3 teams, they take the top 3 individuals. So to move on to state, your chances double by dropping to a Division V, and that's where we should be as a Division V. So for basketball, what ends up happening is we stay at Division IV. I've heard through the grapevine, next year we will be a Division V, which is where we should be. At Division IV, you're playing against Salesian schools, Cardinal Newman, schools that we cannot compete against because we can't go out and recruit kids. So for instance, 4 of our teams in our league, NCL1, made playoffs this year, okay? 3 of those teams went Division IV, 1 of those teams went Division V. Middletown, Kelseyville, Clear Lake all went Division IV. Cloverdale went Division V. First round, Clear Lake got beat by 30-something. Middletown and Kelseyville drew great playoff spots. They won first round. Second round, they were both beat by 70. So pretty much tells you where you're going to be. So for Cloverdale, for instance, Division V, first round, they won by 30-something. Second round, they won by 15 or 20. Now, they're down to 4 teams. They have an automatic berth to the NorCal Championships in Sacramento. And by looking and scouting both teams, because I'm a basketball fanatic, they have a great chance of beating that team that they're going to play and end up in the championship and head to Sacramento with 1 loss. That's where Willits should be sitting in Division V. So if you add that 100 kids or whatever it is to us from a standpoint of sports, there's no way. We're going to stay in Division IV for basketball, and there's no hope of ever. When I was in school here and I played here, and even after that, I graduated in '88, we were up pretty high, and I believe we even hit up into the 750s, somewhere in there, and that was great. You could compete, but now when you're down in the low bottom end of that, there's no way you're going to compete, and we need to fall down to Division V where we should be. Thank you.
I think we all remember that Cloverdale, I think it was in the late 80s, actually won a state championship with Craig McMillan. I guess he's now their coach.
It's actually, his boys play there, and he's the coach of Santa Rosa JC, and last year his team won the state championship.
All right, so are we done with this item? Moving right along. Sabrina? Well, take anybody who wants to talk.
Because I want to talk. So I come before you as a parent and as a coach, and I understand the struggles that Paul spoke about, and I do believe that it has a significant impact on our high schoolers, and you should take that under heavy consideration, how it would affect our students at the high school level. However, I do have a difference of opinion when it comes to our middle school program. It's my personal belief that I don't think that it's an issue when it comes to ADA. I don't feel like we're losing ADA by allowing students to participate in sports. The charter school is already at capacity. If you let in a few players to play sports, you're not going to lose a few more over to the school that's already full. So I don't see that as an issue. The other thing is that I've coached the sport of soccer for 25 years, 6 years at Bethel Grove and 6 years at the high school. And during my time coaching, I can't imagine that it's ever been an issue in our community where there is a rivalry between students. We're a small community. Our kids know each other, they get along. It doesn't matter which school you go to, you come for the love of the game and to play together. And it's the coach's responsibility to instill a code of conduct and a responsibility and a passion to do well in school. And it's the coach's responsibility to meet with the teachers if need be. And I have no problem as a coach taking on the responsibility of making sure that my students are making grades at either school. So I don't really see that as an issue, and I would be disappointed if we didn't offer that up to our community, because speaking as a parent, it's not just about Willits Unified, but it's about our whole community that I'm concerned about. Your job is to worry about the finances of Willits Unified. My job before you is to speak from the heart of a parent who would like to see all kids be able to participate. And not all children have the opportunity to participate in a city league. I understand, yes, we have city league basketball, and yes, we have a city league soccer and other sports, but there are some sports that cannot be offered to charters wrestling. There's other programs, so just think about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I come to you old as dirt with a very long history in this district. I believe our largest concern should be eligibility and equal opportunities. I'm deeply concerned as to who indeed will check the eligibility of students who are not going to Willits High School or indeed Bethel Grove, because I believe we should teach at the junior high level. We need to be holding our children as accountable as they should expect once they reach the high school level. And indeed, I don't know if the charter school has an athletic director. I don't know how indeed an athletic director or whoever it is that's assigned to ensure that our charter school students are as eligible, their grades are the same, their attendance is adequate, and that indeed the behavior issues have not occurred that might prevent them from being in the sport. So indeed, this was a super, super tricky issue a number of years ago. And I think you were all here, I just don't know that you were sitting there. But indeed, we had a great divide in our community over this. So I really do hope that you'll give it some thoughtful consideration, because I really hope that we'll just remain with our district, and hope that charter schools develop sports of their own.
Yes, one more comment.
I'm not going up there, but I'm serious. Actually, I have a union.
Anyway, the bottom line is money, and you're saying, and if kids go to our schools because they want to play sports, some of those kids that would go to the charter school. Years ago, when the charter school started, they weren't going to have independent study. Now they have independent study that's not through us. If they wanted to go to and participate in our school district, they could do independent study if they didn't want to, through our school district, if they wanted to play sports badly enough. Or they could go to our school, but they're choosing to go there, so why, and then we're gonna lose money for the kids that are only at our school for sports.
but they would rather be a charter school. We can't afford to lose, what, 5,000 per kid? I don't know how we could possibly afford to do that. And plus, they have to go, my grandson's doing independent study through the school district. The teacher works for Willits Unified. The teacher found out what the standards were that they were teaching, because it is our district. But they wanted to know the grading system and how we did everything, so that he's having to follow the same standards that our kids at Bechtel Grove are following, and we're still getting the ADA money, bottom line. So, and to me, it's the bottom line. We're always suffering for money. Where with kids are having to pay their own way for everything, teachers are having to take out of their pocket for everything, and then we're gonna say, oh yeah, sure, let's let those charter school kids come in and we're gonna get nothing from them. That's not fair, and it's not right. Not to mention just their discipline and all of those kinds of things, so, I'm not sure, but I'm
Okay, I think we've covered that item. We'll move on to E, it's a first reading of our board policy, code of conduct, extracurricular activities, eligibility requirements.
That's actually sort of tied to this whole piece.
So that, we do have a board policy,
Yes,
that's a
we do.
first reading that will
No,
come.
sir, this is board policy, we are just sharing it with you.
Information.
It's just an
Okay,
informational piece.
so this, we don't have to take any action on that. So we'll just move on to F, career technical education program presentation.
Alrighty then. Moving right along.
We do have a PowerPoint, we're gonna hope it comes up.
Oh, should we blow on it some more, Dakota?
Okay, and I'm going to go through this quite fast. If you have
Thank
questions,
you,
of course,
Robert.
I'll answer them. However, because I have John Pett that's coming behind him, that's the new pathway that we're starting, and he's going to be the show. And I just asked John not to talk too long, because once he gets going, he can tell a tale, I'll have to say. But it is all about pathways now. You know, the state, and if you're applying for grants, anything with CTE is you have pathways, and you have to have the same pathway that they have in their documents that they've given out to us in regards to pathways and the CTE standards.
It's just, it has a mind of its own.
Okay, for some reason, maybe the battery died.
You want me to click it?
Yeah, click it.
So point it to.
I'll say click.
Did you unfreeze it?
Really?
Now you really did it.
Okay, so this is our business finance pathway, and as you see, I'm not going to go down each one, but we do have a pathway, and as we talked to our teachers this year about what courses they wanted to offer, all our CTE teachers, we had to ask them, what is your pathway? Tell us what your pathway is. And so we made sure that all our CTE teachers at least had one solid pathway in their courses. And so this is our business and finance. We do have a grant that's on the burner, right?
Yes.
Tanya, right?
Do have a grant that's on the
Tanya doesn't like me talking about the grant, but anyways, we do have a grant, and we're really hoping to expand that with more technology than ever before. So we'll have this one room that'll just be, you know, hopefully the edge of technology and have everything in it that we see out there in the movies.
So we're applying for a grant, but we haven't.
Yeah, we're waiting for the results. And then this is our health patient care pathway, and of course there's health, and then there's scrubs, and then there's medical terminology, which is actually one of the courses that is here on our campus from Mendocino College. And so far so good. And I saw their textbook the other day, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a college textbook. I mean, it was a real college textbook. And at all our pathways, we're all looking for certificates that the students can have. And in the business one, there's a lot of Microsoft type certifications you can get and other things that you can get. Same thing here, we're looking for certificates and expanding this pathway also. Oh, you're doing it for me. You're so good. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Our agri-science pathway, of course, we have sustainable ag, also known previously as ag bio. We have ag soil chemistry, agri-science systems and management, and ag mechanics. And that's the one solid pathway that we have in agriculture at this time. We do have some other courses in agriculture, but we do not have the solid pathways yet that the state says are pathways, but we're working on it. We're working on it. But we wanted to get these down and make sure that each of our CTEs had at least one solid pathway. And that was also the recommendation that we got from our mentors up above in our CTE world. So let's go to the next one. This is the one that that we're going to talk about, and I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm going to take John's time, and John's going to talk and present his PowerPoint. So John Putt, come on up.
Hey everybody! Hey, if y'all want to stand up and just stretch while I'm talking, that's cool. You know, get the blood out of the.
What did I say?
Hey man, hey, we should just pass those on down the line. You can't have enough paperwork, so I'm giving you more. You can't have enough paperwork and can't have enough meetings, right? Okay. What do I do here?
Well, this one is left. This would be your counter, but we're not sure if it's working. Battery might have.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. But you can say click and they'll click it for you.
Click. Okay, well, I started teaching here just in August, so I'm a newbie to the area and into the construction. I've been teaching vocational arts. I was a former ag teacher and taught vocational arts in juvenile probation, so I've got a lot of experience in regular high schools. I am just thrilled to be here. So we just started this program, and I just wanted to go ahead and share with you a little bit of the stuff that we're doing in the program right now. I'm so proud of the kids. These guys and young ladies are just doing great. In the program, the thing we're trying to hit now in the beginning of our pathways is just rough framing, and actually you can see right here, I brought show and tell. Check this out. This is these are all projects that are under construction right now, and like Mr. Chavez said, I can wind a tail here, but he pays me by the syllable, so you know. So anyway, this is just a rafter framing project that's under construction right now, and if the student can frame this, they can frame this building here, the rafter framing, so it's all extenuated out. So that's the rough framing, the rafter framing. Go ahead and click. So on the vision, you know, I think that, you know, what I try and do is I think that all as educators and as parents, really what our job is just a real basic thing to build self-esteem in the kids, okay? If you can build self-confidence and self-esteem in the students, and they develop this I can do attitude, then they can go on from there. I have a lot of students in here from very difficult circumstances, like was being relayed before, and their self-esteem is just down the tubes. And they feel, I had a kid today who's got all kinds of problems. He's in trouble with the law, he's got all kinds of problems with the teachers. And he said, Mr. Putt, I feel terrible about myself. I feel like poop. That wasn't the word he used. And he said, you know, but I come into your class, and you know, what I try and do is do something with your hands, do something with your heart, do something with your mind, stand back and have something tangible here. And that builds self-confidence, and that builds self-esteem, and then they want to be able to go out and do things. And you know, and that's what it's all about, is for us to be able to help the young people feel good about themselves and be able to move into the world and be productive in whatever pathways they feel is appropriate. So that's the pathways that I look for. In Mendocino County, we've got a lot of issues, but there's so much resilience among the people who are here. It's a really strong community. It's a beautiful county, there's a lot of beautiful people here. And it's just, there's gold here, there really is. and there's so much we can build on. The mission statement that I've got here is where the students feel valued. What I do, it's a golden rule. You know, treat the kids like I want to be treated, and vice versa. And you can always find something positive to say to the kids. You know, like, no matter how crummy the project they did, it's like they cleaned up their work area. And if you go ahead and say things that are positive to them, then you can go ahead and do critiques to them as well. So you can have a dialogue both ways. So I'm very supportive of the kids, but I got no problem to say, WTF. You know? So encouragement is really important. There were some things that were said here tonight, and I'll go through this really quickly, but I truly want to thank the board for the support. I want to thank Mr. Chavez, I want to thank Mr. Madden, I want to thank the instructional staff, I want to thank Mrs. Johnson, because without the support of all you people, this program would not be able to go forward. And I see real changes in these kids. Like I said, I've worked with a lot of gangsters, literally before, and so I've seen the biggest reward I get is from the kids, and we were talking about this before, that, you know, when I get a call, I got a call just recently, from a guy when I was teaching down in San Jose last year. Grant funding ran out. Guy had done, in the school I was at, this charter school, he had done 2 or 3 years for meth manufacture. 21 years old, in my program, calls me up, the reason I was telling you. And he says, John, Mr. Putt, you changed my life. I got a job, you helped me get a job in construction. Just bought a house, just got married, got a truck, my wife's pregnant. You changed my life. I love you. And this is from a hard-ass criminal. And there's so many kids in here that are doing great. But I don't have the Stanford-bound kids. I've got the kids, for the most part, that really need support and help. And building these things here is just tangible things they can look at. Click!
You give me 1 second.
I mean, look at these guys, you know? Smiles.
It's having an issue.
Yeah.
But I believe you, they're smiling. I've seen every morning.
But while we're waiting for our click
Walk us
here,
through your show and
this
tell.
is, do show and tell. This is just,
That's beautiful.
isn't that amazing? You know, I mean, whatever angle you look at it, it's just got, between the grain and all that, this particular student's made all kinds of projects. This is nothing more than a piece of art that he designed. Yeah, this is really complicated because all these angles have to be exactly precise. All the grains had to line up. This took an enormous amount of diligence and creativity to build this. And so I just pulled stuff out of the shop before I came over. So the fine woodworking stuff, art, intellect, craftsmanship, pride. Oh, I love this picture here. On our wiring projects, I've got, every kid has a panel of junction boxes, and this is 3-way switches, like the type you get on the bottom and the top of the stairs. You turn the light on, then you go up the stairs and turn it off. So we take multiple panels, put these together, they wire this up, and this one guy here, they're all going, oh, electrical, I can't do that, I can't, oh, it's dangerous. I'm like, oh my God, my mom says don't touch it. He flipped that thing after after weeks of putting all this stuff together, and look at his face. And this is a natural. It's like I stood there with the camera and goes, yeah! And so, click.
There you go.
Okay, plumbing. We're doing this today. Something I thought was really cool was I trained a whole bunch of my students individually. And I'll shut up here pretty quick, so, I trained some students in sweating copper pipe and some in threading pipe and some doing sheetrock repair. I trained about half the class, and then what I did was I stood back and I let the students be mentors and be supervisors and train the other students. They were stoked. They loved it. So it was leadership as well as skill training. What do I want to say next? Oh, click. And check out this one. This guy made a puzzle out of this wood and then burned in Willits Wolverines. I mean, again, the creativity of this. This thing's like this. A puzzle, and it's a cutting board. Young ladies working in here? Okay. Well, you know, I don't need to read all this stuff. You know, that says it all, okay? I'm not going to point out names in here, but some of these pain in the when they came in. I was so worried. I come to school every day. I was scared every day when I came here, when I first started. Oh my God, somebody's going to cut a finger. These kids are so irresponsible. They don't know consequences. I was so afraid. You know, I'm always over everything. You know, what's going on? I was afraid for weeks, a couple of months. I was really afraid these kids were going to maim themselves. These are now these kids who are building these jewelry boxes, using construction grade saws. You know, the smiles, I'm so proud of them. I really, truly am. They've made such remarkable progress. Oh, just what I was reinforcing, student mentoring. I really try and put a lot of emphasis on that because if you can go out and be a supervisor, you're going to make more money. And what I tell them, the big thing I tell them is, what do you guys want more than anything as teenagers, as high schoolers, what do you want more than anything? You want your freedom. You know, people like, be here, do that, right? You know, don't touch this, don't touch that. What are you doing? Right? Yeah. Freedom is what you want more than anything. And money, while it may be the root of all evil, it does go ahead and buy you your freedom. You gain skills, you get your freedom, you get what you want more than anything. Can you dig it? Yeah. Click.
It's being sensitive again.
Oh, and this is one of the things we're doing too. I mean, I try and make these things as tangible as possible. Threading the pipe, we're putting copper together, plastic, threading the pipe, putting a pressure tester on here, pressure testing it, and you know, then it's a proven thing. It's like, yeah, I did this, and it holds pressure. It's not going to leak.
So while we wait, does the board have any questions? I don't know.
Well, how many students are in the program this year?
Not as much as I'd like.
But you started from a dead zero, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how many do we have now?
50?
Do we expect to have more next year?
I'm. You tell me. You think more kids are going to come in the program?
I think so.
Yeah.
The kids are liking it more now.
Yeah. You know, because it's a dirty thing. Yeah, you have to come in here. It's like, I mean, look at me. It's like, I mean, look at me. You know, but I think the thing is with the enthusiasm of the students in the program as it gets known, I really do think it's going to grow. Every school I've taught at, and I was just saying this morning, I got my credential in 1976. 40 years ago. I've been a contractor for most of those years, but I've taught at 6 different schools, and I always get drawn back to education. And all the schools I've taught at, there's after I've been there for a while, there's always been a waiting list to get in. So I fully anticipate this here, because it's, you know, these kids are important to me. I could retire. I'm sure I'm the oldest person here, but you guys are important to me.
So we had no program at all last year?
We had at least one class, possibly 2.
Woodshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a woodshop class.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
teach
pretty
4
basic skills.
I teach 4 periods of construction, 1 period of woodshop.
And it was difficult to fill that position. We reflew it and met John and brought him in this year. And you joined us in August.
In August, uh-huh.
And I'm thinking that the enrollment in your classes was pretty well already set in August, right? Are they semester classes or full year, your classes?
Well, they're semester classes, but they've been, I'm treating it as a full year sort of
Okay,
thing,
alright,
because
yeah.
it takes a long time to get kids up
Right.
to speed, just in terms of safety.
Well, I was just curious if there was an opportunity for kids to add in the middle of the year, and apparently there was. So I think it's growing because we reopened it, and Mr. Cliff's doing a great job, so I'm sure it will grow.
Well, I'm only doing a great job because of the support of you folks and the community, and, so, and the support staff too. I mean, even down to the, the administrative, secretarial. I mean, they're doing, I know there's a lot of stuff that was set up here before, but I sat in a meeting today hearing all this stuff, and I actually walked out on it because it's like, I'm not gonna get into it, but I think that there's the focus for me is really with the students, and that's what matters, and everything else is just ancillary. So, I mean, Mr. Chavez, even though he's had, he's had his concerns, I've had my absences too. I've had some health issues. I think that from what I see, this is, like I said, I've taught at a lot of schools and for a long time, and I'm really, really thrilled to be here. We got problems, but we're working at it. Oh, smiles are always encouraged. I mean, I think we're almost done. Safety, as I say, I can't emphasize safety the most. That's more crucial than anything. So, click. More stuff. We had conduit bending. All kinds of projects. Even we helping other staff. We built a janitorial cart. So I try and make as big a complement exposure to all these different skills as possible. Click.
We're all speed readers here.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you for your time.
All right. The only trouble with him is just, trying to get his emotions, passion up and working on it. Thank you so much.
I can see that. Okay, we'll now move on to WTA comments.
All right. Good evening. I was just thinking, boy, it's been a long day, because I was involved in those superintendent interviews. But, for you guys who worked all day, and also you have a longer night and you have the interviews tomorrow too, I appreciate your commitment to public duties. Right? It's commendable. Let's see. I want to thank the board for allowing that process that went on through the screening of the paper applications for the superintendent, and then today's search to, or the interviews that we had. It was a good way to involve the community and the stakeholder groups. Okay. We've had negotiations. We had 2 days earlier in February, and then we just had 2 days, and I think that we are making progress. And I know I'm not supposed to say anything before the deal is totally done, but I think that the process has been respectful on both sides, and I think that we're making some real movement to make this district a better district, and that's my feeling of where we're headed. So hopefully that comes to fruition on the 15th when we have another negotiation date. Let's see. I want to thank Mr. Neary for coming to Blosser Lane to do the Read Across America, and he read in a couple classrooms today. And then he had lunch with the staff over at Blosser, so I think it was a good opportunity for the kids. I guess the kids nailed him with some hard questions. And he also got to read a couple stories, one about the Jim Abbott, who was a baseball player with one hand, who made it to the major leagues, and a Dr. Seuss story. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Neary, for that.
Enjoyed him.
Let's see. I sent out an email to the board, and I hope you guys got it. It was about the ELP and how the ELP program is configured right now. And I put that question out to all the WTA members, and then I was just giving you the feedback that I received. So what I would really like is, we're going to talk about that at our WTA meeting next week, but if it could go on as an agenda item for your next board meeting, where we might have a position that WTA might want to take, And as a program, it might be a good idea for the board to come in with your opine, is that the word? Opine about the program. So that might be helpful. So I'm requesting that it somehow end up on the agenda. And lastly, for Martin Luther King Day, we had that presentation, and it was a great success at Blosser Lane. And on March 31st, we're having a presentation on Cesar Chavez, and it will be at 11 o'clock in the cafeteria. And we will have my ELD students doing a play. There's some other classrooms who are doing songs, and another class doing a skit. And so it should be a great morning. It's a morning right before vacation, so you're all invited to come over. All right?
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John. All right, CSEA comments. So we have a representative from CSEA.
Might I ask, I hear Mr. Heschek talking about ELP concerns with certificate. Is that something exclusive to our certificated staff? It's just, I'm not clear.
Well, I haven't, actually, I didn't receive your email, so I appreciate it if you send it to me again.
Right, I will.
And with one of those little things, you know, click if you get it, you know, if you know how to do that. I don't know how to do it, but maybe you do. Because I didn't get it, and I am very interested in it. And I think probably what we do is have an information item, and then perhaps follow it up the following month with an action item.
Okay.
Debbie, are you the CSEA representative today?
I'm standing in for
Okay.
tonight because she's not feeling well. We've been in interviews all day. And so I'm going to present you guys with the Sunshine proposal. She had gave it to the district early February, and she's had no response. So I'm just going to present you with this proposal at this time.
Have we received this? I mean, I understood that last month that when Danae was here, she said that they were asking us to extend the time for them to issue a sunshine
Yes, she
proposal.
was, and that's what the Appalachian Shale is, and she also indicated she wanted to wait till new superintendent came. So this is not an item that the district can accept because it's not on the agenda.
We can receive it, but
Yes,
not
but
accept it.
yeah.
You want a copy?
You want a copy, Ms. Johnson?
I've got one.
Okay. And there are some copies here if you want. Thank you.
Okay, site administrator comments. We'll start with Brookside.
Someone up there quicker. The business, I know it's up there. First, I want to start with Willits Education Foundation news. We sold all of our tri-tip dinner tickets for this Friday, so that'll mean a lot of money in the fall for special projects in classrooms. So, we've been very busy at Brookside. The most exciting news is one of our teachers had a baby over the weekend, a beautiful baby girl. So, future ABA. Today it was super special at Brookside. It was Dr. Seuss's birthday, Read Across America Day, and Pajama Day. And students and staff were in their pajamas. I was too, but I didn't want it immortalized. So I changed. Everybody was enjoying reading all day long and being together. And green eggs and ham could be found in kindergarten as well. And I actually got to read the TKs, which was super fun. Tomorrow we have our vision screening for our kindergarten and also for any referrals, students who moved in that didn't have one in the past. And that is done by volunteers from the community. Dr. Earl Myers comes with his whole staff. He closes his office down and he screens our students for free. His wife, a retired teacher, Marette, will be there as well. And then former school nurse Gail Bradley is also volunteering her time. And I really want to thank Gay Orvis. She's our school nurse for setting all of this up. It's a huge job, and she should be commended. Friday is Crazy Sock Day.
And it's also when Ashley Wolf, a children's author, will be coming to our school to do 3 assemblies and then a special writing workshop for 2nd graders. And it kicks off our Young Authors Fair. Next Thursday is family game night, the 10th, and the PTO is providing a free hot dog dinner to everybody in attendance. All the games are free. I'll be calling bingo, so come on by. And then the 11th, we have Gary Martin, who's our art historian. The following week, the 14th to the 16th, we have Judy Fiel, who is a singer-songwriter and musician, and she's fabulous, so I really recommend you come by and attend one of her sessions. Or she works with us on Tuesday with the staff, and it just really provides some invigoration and just an injection of energy for the last third of the school year. So you're all invited. And then I want to say some thank yous. I want to thank Superintendent Johnson and Tanya and Roberta for getting us 76 brand new chairs. The staff is really excited. But I have to say, the kindergartners are much more excited about the cardboard boxes they came in. They're thrilled.
We can do that, cardboard boxes.
It's very exciting. And I want to thank the Brookside staff and the whole team at Brookside. We've had any little glitch or emergency, everybody just pulls together and fills in. Jackie's not here anymore right now, but the elementary counseling staff, anytime we have an issue, they didn't mention this, when there's an emergency with a student on the spot, they're there. They're helping us. They're an integral part of our staff. And so thank you for helping to continue that. Let's see. And in honor of Dr. Seuss, I will close with this. Sorry I didn't have the time to do my whole presentation in rhyme. There is one thing I'd like to say. At Brookside, we had serious fun today. I invite you all to visit our site, and now I bid you all good night.
Okay, Bechtel Grove, Maria, is Maria here?
You're gonna let Nancy do Brooke Blosser first.
I forgot about Blosser, I was there today.
And Shirley. I'm trying to follow Anne. Really, I'd like Bechtel to go first. No, because then it takes the focus off the next person. So, well, thank you everyone, and I have information about Sherwood too, so I can share both. So at Blosser, thank you Mr. Haschek, he already thanked Mr. Neary, he was here at our campus for Read Across America Day. So he shared that with you, and he also shared about Cesar Chavez Day coming up. So we also have our end of our trimester is this Friday. This is for Blosser, this is big because this is our first year doing trimesters. We did the first trimesters, it's now our second, so we're getting the rhythm here. We were on a fire watch, which is a new experience for me, but we had some great support from our fire chief and from the staff that stayed and came and checked our campus, and that was all now fixed. So thank you to all those people who helped with that, and especially Gerardo, because he was the one checking at 1 and 2 and 3 in the morning, and Dan Green also at 4, and I almost thought I had to bring a tent and a sleeping bag, but they saved me. We're busy getting ready for our online testing. We are going to be testing in April, the CASP testing. We are using our computer cards. We are using our PLC time to train students on the practice test and the training tests. We're also doing we're getting started on our keyboarding, so a lot of things for students to learn that they're going to need, especially when they get to Bechtel Grove and the high school. This is a new generation. You know, for me, the big thing was learning how to type when I was in high school. And you know, that was big, how many words per minute. We had just to give you a cute thing, I was talking to the students about what they were going to be learning, and one boy said, I know what an icon is. I've known that since I was 2 years old. You know, and I said, oh my gosh. You know, so forget that. I mean, really, the things that I thought we had to cover with them, they know quite a bit.
Our 4th grade is going on a field trip this year to the Academy of Sciences in San Francisco. And our 3rd graders are planning a trip on the skunk train. And if you've ever done it, it's a fun, fun trip. 5th grade is going to be walking to Bechtel Grove on March 21st to get a tour of the campus and get ready for that. And on March 31st, our PTO will have a book giveaway for all our students in addition to the Cesar Chavez Day. So that's the news at Blosser. If I may, about Sherwood. We had at Sherwood Thing 1 and Thing 2 today, by the way, in honor also of Read Across America Day. And they had a vet tech come and read to them at the campus. So they were very excited about all the Dr. Seuss focus. And we also have a science fair day for Miss Valente's class. Luna's class is going to be having a science fair day, and she teaches the kindergarten 1st and 2nd graders. And they're going to be, that is March 25th. And then science fair related, Gina Hirsch's class had 11 students qualify for county science fair, and they're so proud of them. And the county science fair is March 12th. And her class is also taking a trip next week to the Headlands, to Nature's Bridge. Thank you.
Maria?
Okay. About Bechtel Grove Middle School. So first I want you to know that this year we have a very devoted set of parents that are supportive of the students having a good experience at Bechtel Grove. And last week, or whenever we had the Valentine's Day dance, they brought food and supervision, and they just had a happy time with the students at the Valentine's Day dance. And that was the parents that did that, not, you know, I mean, our staff supervised and decorated and students decorated, but that was a big help. We addressed the parent concerns also for the math program at Bechtel Grove Middle School on Monday night. I feel the night was very productive because parents came and told us specifically what their concerns were with the learning of their students. And that was a good thing, but you know, we talked about some areas where we can move forward and look and, you know, change some things or adjust our things that we're doing. But of course, you know, students' achievement will be the determinant, whether or not we were successful on that night. Okay, I do want to thank the superintendent for Ms. Johnson's willingness to look closely at the needs of our community and help us out with parents and putting us together. And of course, both teachers and their dedication to the learning of students, Ms. Hendricks and Ms. Ford. We've been planning our summer school. I wanted to let you know about that, our summer session. So we hope to provide support for both language arts and math, and you know, for students who struggle with those classes. It'll be the same as the high school summer school or dates, which are June 15th through July 8th. What we're going to do is we're going to have some focus groups with students and ask them what would it take in a summer school to get you to come and attend. And we're hoping to get some good ideas about, you know, local field trips or whatever it is that might be something they might want to have. And our 6th grade has their first, our 6th grade Odyssey of the Mind team has their first competition, and that is on Saturday the 12th, the same day as our science fair, which is why we don't have 7th and 8th grade Odyssey of the Mind teams. We do have 7th and 8th grade Odyssey of the Mind teams, but they won't be competing. Only the 6th grade will, because of our science fair. It was on the same date as our science fair. Santa Rosa apparently doesn't talk to Mendocino County. So we hopefully next year that will be different. I wanted to let you know that our auditor, oh, and that's, you know, thanks to Ms. Kovic, who's their coach, and I also wanted to thank Ms. Lewis, who has also spent some time or supervising our Odyssey of the Mind team. She's a community member. I wanted to let you know that the auditor was very pleased with the student council minutes and notes at Bechtel Grove. She was impressed by how organized they seemed. She really enjoyed looking at them. All of our attendance reporting was in perfect order, and our student council may have had maybe a single item that was not complete. So overall, I wanted to let you know and thank Jenny for all of her work. She does a great job making sure that we all do what we need to do so that there's no findings with our auditors for student body and attendance. This Friday, our students our students that have made all of their AR goals will be attending, will be taking in a movie at the Noyo Theater as a reward. And I don't, actually I can't tell you how many, I should have that number, but I don't. March 14th, a panel of our students will host the 5th grade Parent Visitation Day, where they will explain some of our programs and answer questions for parents. We do that with a panel of students. And then I will take them on classroom visitations. So you're welcome to come to that 5th grade Parent Visitation Day. So that's Bechtel Grove. And then I have Curriculum and Instruction Committee. March 7th is the last day of our ELA-ELD Adoption Toolkit review. We should then bring the information back to our staff and make a decision and bring a recommendation to you after that. March 10th is our next day of the Math Adoption Toolkit review for TK through 5, and there will be one other day of that, and then we should have a decision as well. Avid. Willits High School Avid, students go on a college visitation to UC Berkeley in March. I don't have the date. We're in the middle of recruiting, recruitment efforts for 3 different sites. We recruit at the high school, recruit at the middle school, and we're recruiting at Blosser. 5th graders coming into 6th grade next year. So Avid students have made presentations about the program, and they'll take them to the individual sites to recruit students. And the last thing I want to say is pertaining to allowing charter students to play sports at Bechtel Grove Middle School. I feel that even though sports are after school, they are not separate from everything that we do at Bechtel. They're supported by all of our programs, are supported by everything we do. Avid is an individual all by itself. Project-based learning is an individual all by itself. Sports is not individual all by itself. We are, things that we do during the day support our whole climate for doing sports and for having students involved in that after school. We are constantly being held accountable for our failures and in terms of programs, what it is that we don't do really well. Nobody else takes that on, just us. And so I feel like you're allowing charter students to play on our teams is robbing us in a way of one of the more positive programs that we have, and that is that this positive program is very much supported by everything that we do at Bechtel Grove. Thank you.
Wait, you have one more our attendance challenge. You gotta tell them about the.
Oh, yeah.
Friday.
Okay, so we have an attendance challenge, and we have for Pi Day for March 14th, that's 3.1415. and it goes on.
Actually, it goes on further than that.
Yeah, as you said, and it goes on. We have an attendance challenge, and the attendance challenge is, every class, for the next 2 weeks, every class that has 100% attendance for first period gets put into a drawing, and there's been about 5, 6, 7 classes, and then one of those classes is drawn, and every student in that class is given a ticket, and or a sticky, actually, a label, and they can take that label, put their name on it, and they can put it on whichever teacher or administrator, dean, or counselor that they want to throw a pie at on Pie Day. and in the office we have the list of people, and they just put their stickers right on there. So then and actually it won't happen right on 314. It'll happen on 317 because we kind of need a weekend to wash up. Then we'll have students throw as many pies as they earn at teachers. And I invite you to that.
Thank you.
I want to go look.
Chavez?
Will, do you want to say anything?
You want me to do my presentation?
Do you have your presentation?
Yeah, I sent it to her.
What? Okay.
Oh,
I don't
my
wanna
goodness.
Step on you. So if you have that,
Maybe I didn't.
that would be great.
I don't even know. You do? You did?
I did.
Which one was it?
My name is Will Switzer.
Hmm?
It's probably under my name. I don't know.
It's probably still
Just
me.
email it to you.
Where did you send it to?
Just to you. I don't know.
You sent it
I'm
to
not
me?
a tech guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was at interviews all day. I haven't checked my email. Let me do that. Look at all those.
Well, while she's
Oh,
arranging
look,
that, why don't we go to
Will's
superintendent
Very good.
comments?
I wanted to wish a happy birthday to Dr. Seuss and thank Mr. Neary for participating in Read Across America. And from what I understand, there were lots of volunteers across the district that came into various school sites. So on behalf of the district, we thank everyone for their participation. I want to thank a big special thanks to the Special Ed Department for their presentation tonight, and certainly Mr. Foote for the presentation that he shared. And the elementary counseling grant, those are the things, those are the pieces of our district that will make us rich, and they show that we have a true connection to our students and that we care about the whole student. And so I appreciate the efforts that those departments and teams have done. I had the opportunity to attend math night on Monday night at Becker Grove, and I also met with a group of parents last Thursday. I thought they were very meaningful meetings, very thoughtful, and I appreciated the input of the community from those parents, and we are certainly looking at that program, as well as all the programs. When you roll out a new curriculum, there's always going to be change with it, of course, that's why it's new, but there needs to be some front loading of that and some understanding of that, and support, not to just the students, but perhaps to the home as well. So we will certainly get better at that as we move forward with the implementation of Common Core and the various textbook adoptions that we're doing. The district appreciates the efforts of WTA negotiating team. I thought that was very meaningful, the 4 days that we have met. We certainly look forward to March 15th, and I think we are moving definitely in some very positive directions for this district and for this community. And I would just like to repeat something that Mr. Neary said earlier. I want to appreciate the very hard work that the HR department's going through right now to support this district in its superintendent search, and also the efforts of its fiscal department in supporting the negotiation piece. So those teams are working very, very hard, and it is greatly appreciated. And next board meeting is March 16th. I just want to remind the board. And I'm not sure, it looks like it'll be a 4:30 start, but we will let you know. It depends on what other issues might come up for any closed session. So March 16th here, it'll be a fairly short agenda. It's mostly going to be strategic plan and fiscal concerns. Thank you for that. We never have a short meeting though, so I kind of lied. I've jinxed myself. I said that's an inside joke with the board. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, now we'll go back to Will's report.
Alright, good evening, everybody. My name is Will Switzer. I'm the school board rep for Willits High. So we had Winter Spirit Week in the past month. Monday we had Dress Like the 20s, Tuesday the 80s, Wednesday the 70s, Thursday the 50s, and then Friday, like always, Green and Gold Day. Our Winter Spirit Week, we had a poster competition and a rally. Seniors didn't do too good. We kind of took it like I don't know. The juniors won. They did really good. They made a lot of cool posters, and then sophomores got second, and then freshmen third, which normally seniors win, but I don't know what happened this year. So, JV girls basketball, they actually did pretty good this year. Their overall was 18-10, and their league was 8-6. Varsity girls basketball, they got overall 9-16, and then their league was 3-11. JV boys basketball, their overall was 1-10, but yeah, league was 0-6, but they're just getting ready for varsity, so there's just JV. It's not that big of a deal. Varsity boys basketball did really good. They got 12-14, and then 5-9 in league. So yeah, they did pretty good. Wrestling, they amazed me this year. Our wrestlers are well known for being impressive on and off the mat. We had 9 students compete in sections this year, which is really cool. It was really awesome to have that many kids go. Normally there's only like 2 or 3, so it's pretty cool. The CTE, we had Senator Geary visit Willits High on December 17th. He was escorted by 3 FFA members to the wood shop, metal shop, and the computer labs. We got a cool GASP grant for felting with Ursula, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that was really awesome. It was really fun going in there and doing that just because of all the wool, and I don't know, I've never done it before, and it was fun doing it. And what's going on, okay, I got some on my phone for this too, because there's a few words in here that are pretty big. So, the Willits High School FFA competed at the Mendocino Lake section speaking contest. 3 of our students are moving on to the regional contest, Caitlin Forrester and Dante Gray in extemporaneous, and Devin Hyken in impromptu. And I got what they mean on here. Extemporaneous is where students are given a topic, have 30 minutes to research it, and then give a speech. Impromptu is where students pick a topic and have 1 minute to think about it, and then must talk about it for 30 seconds, no more than 2 minutes. So it's kind of, speaking competition. So, yeah. And that was it.
That was it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Will.
One other thing I want to add is our spring sports have begun. And so if you want to go out and see some softball or tennis or swimming or track, or swimming, we have 20 people out there. Tennis is full, and our softball team looked good the other day when I saw them on a practice run. So they're there and track's going. I haven't seen our boys yet, and so I'll tell you our boys later. But also we'll have senior portfolio night next Wednesday and Thursday evening, and we got quite a response in support to interview the students, and so that was really exciting. So I want to thank the community and all those that volunteered for that. So thank you very much.
Okay. Go to board comments. Cynthia?
Well, I really enjoyed the special ed presentation. I just thought that was really wonderful. It makes me feel good as a board member being involved when just a couple years ago that was the department up here crying, and how we had let it down and how we were just disserving everybody. And to see that whole change and to see how it's all and feel the good energy that's coming from
the teachers and the staff and everybody working there, and then to see the children, it just really warms my heart. I think that was just really, really great. I appreciate the frustration the teachers at the high school expressed publicly. I thought that took a lot to do and was great, but I was very pleased to hear from the principal that he was approached prior, so that I'm listening to what they're saying there. I think our charter school talk is really fascinating. I've gotten a lot of calls on that, and everybody talking with the sports and everything going on there. It's interesting to me to hear the teachers at Bechtel that there was such a discussion and that they took it so to heart and came up with some responses there. I think that's very encouraging. Love hearing about our CTE pathways. I know it's been a slower start than what we thought, but I like hearing that it's coming together and that there's lines and what we're doing there. We got a lot going on at our schools, a lot of dates down, a lot of things to be happening, and I think that's really exciting to be doing. And I look forward to it. And there's a lot of things to attend, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make it to them. Thank you.
Alex.
Like Cynthia, she's already said most of it. Lots of exciting things going on around the district and all the various sites. Really proud of the work that all the staff and administration is doing to support all those things that are happening. I'm a little dismayed about the the state of affairs at the Willits High School. I understand there's no question that not having leadership here at that site has been a real problem over the past realistically a couple of years. Hopefully with Mr. Chavez being back on a full-time basis now, many of those issues can get addressed. One in particular that jumped out at me as I went down the list of things was that I'd like to see the superintendent address at some point, is the suggestion that an ELD specialist is required for us to retain WASC accreditation. I'd like to know if that's is in fact the case, and if so, what are we going to do to correct that now that Nancy Brunberg is no longer in that position. I would also like to see, if it's all possible, I think Mr. Chavez said that he'd addressed these items on paper to the staff. I'd like to see a copy of that. I'd also like to see the superintendent take a direct role in helping to make sure that as many of these issues that have been lined out in the request are addressed fully. And then of course, I'd like the board to be fully appraised to that. That's pretty much where I am. Thank you.
Georgianne?
Second a lot of that. Great, presentations tonight. The woodworking stuff is fantastic. Wish I could sign my husband up for that too.
I could take the class.
And we get a presentation off and on from the PTOs, but I do really appreciate all the reminders they put out on Facebook of all these different events too, because like I said, there are a lot of dates. Lambing and kidding season is here, and I haven't checked Facebook. I did miss pajama day today and sent my daughter in regular clothes, but just lots going on. It's great to hear. So that's all I got.
Well, I'll just say that I was at Blosser today on Dr. Seuss's birthday, and I really enjoyed it. I wish I could be around students more. It really was refreshing. I live in a world of friction and all kinds of meanness, and it really is something wonderful to stand in front of a group of fifth graders, in one case, peppering me with questions about what it's like to be a lawyer. The best question of all was whether I was related to Dr. Seuss. As I was walking around campus, I'd been in court and I was in a suit, and somehow one of the kids heard that I was the president of the school board, and he whispered that to somebody else, and pretty soon they thought I was the president. And so as I was walking out off campus, they were calling me President Trump. I was thinking about starting to work on a wall. So that was a great pleasure, and I'm going to do more of that. Lori?
I think the best news I've heard this evening is Mr. Neary being on a school campus. So thanks, Chris, for doing that. First, I'd like to say thank you very much to Mr. Chavez for bringing that information forth. And now I would like to clear up some misconceptions. I was led to believe at the last official board meeting that we normally send our buses to Sacramento, only to be corrected and informed that they were under warranty. That was not the implied impression that was given to us last month. Additionally, the 77 days out for that employee was nobody's business. It's a personnel matter, and we were neglected to be informed that there was a medical issue with a doctor's note. I do not like being lied to or intentionally delivered misinformation. I like to point out that the fact that I've been asking for 3 or 4 months for financial information with regards to maintenance and transportation, I have not been given. However, Mr. Bowles asked for information regarding academic eligibility, and it is immediately put on the agenda. So, I hope that all the other members of the community can see the bias that's coming out of the district office. I'd like to thank Laura Sleeper and everybody else involved in the interviews for the new superintendent, because I know it's taken a lot of work and a lot of time. Lastly, I would like to share with our community that I had where they had all the mats set up and it was lots of fun. However, I was absolutely horrified to be approached by a parent and an employee who informed me that there was an incident on one of our campuses where a student intentionally slammed an employee's hand in a door. That student was suspended. However, that student's parent is a teacher and went absolutely batshit crazy in the office, and that suspension was overturned. I believe that's against school policy, and I think that all of our students, whether their parent is a teacher or not, need to be treated equally. All of our students. Thank you.
Okay. Well, now we'll move on to action discussion. It's 7:30. It's taken us 3 hours to get to our action agenda.
Can we have a bathroom break?
I second that.
You want to take a little break? Let's make it as short as possible, say 5 minutes. Worked all weekend. Yeah. We had a cow out and a cat. Cow out there, and the cat.
She's a teacher. She was going to do a quick exam. There in the public comments there.
Hey.
She got some she liked.
I will grab the laptop.
Okay.
Thank
you.
There were two.
Yes, we're on.
Okay.
No.
Huh? It's not a rehearsed one, is it?
Yes. Okay, so then the things where the line is that's a new word. Okay, so you just are saying this is what you took out, and this is what you put in the place. So one One of those pages. Wasn't so much bullet, yeah, I'm sorry. It was just a matter of, it's been but anyway, it had to do with complaint procedures and stuff like that. It had a ton of, some in red and some dots and some this and that. Is that, got a little scale somewhere too?
Do you know what we're referring to?
Yeah.
Is it
it
a
had to do
first read or a
with-
second read?
No, they're all firsts.
Okay.
Okay.
You're in Fort Bragg, is that right? So,
First reading, not grades and evaluations.
I just don't want to.
Yeah, mix them all up, it gets crazy.
Which one is that? Bullying?
No, that's one of them, but the bigger ones were on complaints and complaint procedures. It wasn't one of the new law ones. It was just kind of modifications, and I didn't understand quite. Not special ed stuff.
Which if I don't look at my agenda.
No, it's all about, I can really look at the other half. Yeah, this is,
Because I know I got the agenda right here. Complaints concerning discrimination?
yeah, and there was another one by it, one of
The
the,
first one, non-discrimination in employment.
oh, okay, that
So that's the board policy in AR 4030. There used to be a AR 403.
yeah, and that was the next
That's
one.
one's completely being eliminated.
And
That
so
AR
why is that? They made a
Because it's-
remark that it was up here, but there was.
Because it's being absorbed.
Okay, but so parts of it are not the same.
That all comes from CSBA.
Oh, but they're not law, they're more than legislation.
They get all from the.
In
So
some
what
of
I
it,
do, what I do is I take those and I present them to the board and they're supposed to read it and to make any
changes or modifications or whatever, right? Because those aren't the new law ones. There are some where the law says, you have to do these things and write them up. And then there's parts of it that are part of it. And then some of that, that's what I couldn't understand. Which parts you were board meeting recommended to different. Okay, but you don't really have that out there. Because some of it was underlined.
I kind of did.
Boy, if this is.
Yeah, that's put them together myself. It's just like, okay. Yeah, you should.
Do not want this out of order.
Oh, it's hard enough.
All right, Mr. Phillips. Bye, guys.
The order.
No. But what they need is to provide students. So I'm asking So, anyway, at least being pleasant to work at.
I love that. I will do. Okay.
Thanks for coming. Oh, that'd be great. Love that.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should remember that it was previous.
Did you read? What did you get?
The one of who they're gonna, who they'll lay off. It's just paperwork from you guys. And it was it's in the minutes, it's in the agenda.
Oh, I wonder. Okay, we don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. Okay, biz, bullying,
I'm looking at it from a different standpoint. We're spending
Thanks for coming today.
Sure.
Well, it's okay, I'm in it. I just couldn't read it because I couldn't understand what they were
Mr.
doing.
Mary, I'm Laura Voland.
Okay,
Hi, I'm a
so,
teacher.
which piece do you want?
And
Well,
I'm shamelessly
that was the
promoting
whole
my
thing, but I
40,
didn't know.
30 project.
30
I
and
was going to
31.
speak during the special
Because
ed
parts of it are not in
time.
there.
But I wanted the board
This
to know
whole
that,
AR is being deleted.
I wanted the board to know that many teachers use Donors Choose to raise funds to buy things for our student body.
Yeah, and that just
Would you
seemed
like
like.
a few minutes to speak to the board?
I love it.
We're going to try and get through a few agenda items. Are you willing to stay for a while?
I am.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that you get one.
Thanks.
I think you're looking for something
Laura,
specific, but I don't know what.
Yeah, but no, me neither. I didn't read it all just because I couldn't determine what was being deleted and what was
The
being.
whole AR 431.
And see, that's what I missed.
Deleted.
They were deleting the whole thing. I was trying to compare it to 4300 or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
so AR is still virtuous.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And the, still open, I suppose I could. Brought
Kinda
in,
meshed in.
it's being brought in, so.
Thanks to
No, he hasn't added, he's just gonna tell you if it's on that, so I can see the complaints. And that's it.
Can we start things up? We've been at least 5 minutes.
Sure. We're going to just move forward. We got a long agenda to get through. I don't know where Lori is.
She's bringing up something. She was talking to Robert about that door, like you mentioned.
Lori? Where Okay, we'll move on to action discussion, public comments on consent agenda items. Anyone have any comments? All right, do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I have to make an amendment to it, since I can't vote on 2 today,
Yeah.
since I wasn't present. So we're-
Okay.
Did I second that one?
Yes.
That motion. That motion.
All right, we have motion second. Any comment? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes. We'll move on to,
Now we need to do item 2, yeah.
you know, it really isn't necessary. I mean, I think she just is noting that she wasn't present, so she wasn't voting on that, but it passed by 4 other votes, so.
So was that included in the vote then?
Yes.
Because I had made notes that it had been approved. All right, so it's a 4.
There's always
I
going
read
to be. So, the next item is approval of engineering contract with SHN.
Yes, this is a contract to get an estimate as to what it would take to redo the asphalt and the paving around the high school. That includes this road that comes off 101 to the back end here by the media center. It includes the front horseshoe, if you will, and includes the student parking lot. We're concerned that the water damage has eroded the base of the bed that sits on, and I know those aren't technical terms. So we're asking that we approve a contract with SHN to get a real estimate of what that's gonna take to replace it.
Okay, and that's not to exceed, what,
Not to exceed that.
10,500?
I think it's 9,500, isn't it?
9,500.
Yeah, I think it's-
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got 3 votes already, it looks like. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Passes. Approval of job description, Department of Maintenance Operation, Administrative Assistant.
When we originally created this position to support those 3 departments, it was a blended position between district office duties as well as duties that related to those 3 departments. Those 3 departments have really stepped up their game, if you will, on inventories and just scheduling and just really taken that on, and we would like to remove the district office portion of that and make that an 8-hour position and be able to support it. We have presented this job description to the union back on January 20th, and we're still waiting to hear where they will place it on the salary schedule. But with that in mind, we would still like to get the job description approved while pending that wait for the salary schedule.
Okay. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Paula has a question.
Any comments from the public? Paula?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I thought initially that was set up to take care of mom money recording and, you know, just make sure that all the mom funds and all the mom reporting would be taken care of because it was worth $200,000 and $300,000 and stuff. And so then, since this person doesn't seem able to do that, are you putting that job on someone else, or are you inventing another position also?
The MOB program has done a whole shakeup of its system. It's no longer a manually reported system. You now get a phone call and they take a survey over the phone, and that's how. So a lot of the paperwork to that position supported doesn't exist anymore. So we will be relooking at the MOB position and most likely keeping it in the district office and using it there. So it's still a function that we're doing. It's just being done differently.
Well, explain to me why the union would place this on the salary schedule.
We're elevating it to administrative assistant because of the various duties that it now has. And they give a recommendation as to where it would rank in their list of their systems numbered. So they give their 23 or 25. I believe our HR department has recommended a ranking for it because, quite honestly, the duties that are involved are as detailed, if not more detailed, than a high school principal's secretary, administrative assistant, or even somebody in the district office. So it's pretty detailed.
Okay. So any other discussion?
Well, you know, I got a copy of the previous job description and the new job description, and it seems that they have just been kind of changed around in their order. I might be willing to go for one of them if we eliminate the other one, but I don't think we need any more administrative people.
This is not an
We're just delegating other duties that fall under a director's job. I'm not in agreement with it.
I'm not following with your objection.
I'm just saying is that we have someone to do these things,
Right.
and now we want to add another person with the same duties, but we're going to call her an administrative assistant. And we have no salary schedule. So I believe that what we're doing is giving the district carte blanche to hire whoever they want at any salary. And now we have two people doing the same thing.
This is a new job description. That one that is present will go away. It will not exist. And what we will pull off of that old job description is the MAW duties, and it will stay in the district office and not be assigned to somebody that's split between.
So you are eliminating the district Medi-Cal administrative assistant clerk, range 20. You're eliminating that job completely.
Not the duties of that job, but that job description, yes, ma'am.
So, I gotta understand this correctly. This is the one that's in the agenda today.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is Maddie's job description from before.
That is a job description that is in current existence, yes, ma'am.
And there is an employee that fills this
duties, yes,
position. So you're going to eliminate this position and you're going to have this position instead. Or are you going to add this position and keep this position?
We are going to add that position that's in your hand, the white one, that's in the agenda tonight. We're going to fly that position and take applicants for that position. Then we will go through the process to fill that position. And then the duties from the other one will roll back to the district office.
But you are not eliminating, you're still adding an additional position to the district.
No.
Go ahead, Paula, can you explain what I'm trying to ask? Am I not understanding myself?
What it looks like is that you're taking a person who had 4 hours worth of duty doing one thing and 4 hours doing something else, right? Was that a split that happened nearly a year ago and they were asking for a part-time MAW person, and instead, Chris, you're the one who said make it an 8-hour position, and then it turned into an 8-hour position, so 4 of those hours went into the
maintenance, transportation, operations department as an assistant or a secretary or whatever. Okay, so now you're just turning that.
We are now adding
secretarial spot into an 8-hour spot instead of 4.
an administrative assistant to that
Mhm.
department, yes.
Right, and so it doesn't have a salary attached to it yet.
It has not, because CSEA hasn't provided that to
Right.
us.
And then the other part of it is that whatever duties were supposed to be that person's duties that had 4 hours of MA and district office chores are now just, that person isn't gonna do those. Somebody already in the DO is gonna pick them up. Okay,
Yes.
well, so that's part of the confusion, is that someone else is gonna get extra chores added to what they do, so that the 4-hour position, that white paper is eliminating.
No, this is the new one in the
Right,
agenda.
that becomes
This is the
paper
old
instead
one.
of before, right. And that one no longer really exists, because the DO is supposed to pick up those 4 hours.
Which is what the DO does.
Yeah. that's
So
good,
we are
but-
not going to add an
You're not getting enough.
additional employee to the district.
But my
Kelly?
problem with, I'm sorry.
Let's go with Kelly. Ask.
Oh, I just wanted to address the MOB piece. So, as Pat was saying, the way that Ma is set up has changed a little bit, so
Mhm.
there is a lot more, online piece of it. When we actually looked at how Maddie was funded, she's funded 50% from our Medi-Cal fund, and 50% from, I don't know, something else, I'm just thinking about Medi-Cal because it's under our special ed umbrella. But really, she said only about 10% of her time is spent on Ma. So we took what she was doing and looked at that and talked about whether that could be done by possibly another special ed person or somebody that's already in the district office. It's probably something along the lines of 4 hours a week as opposed to half of a day. And so the duties of Ma really doesn't take the
That
same amount of
4
time that
slot.
it used to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, well, so then, can I ask you my concern then about that didn't come out right the first time apparently?
Sure.
Then the funding to pay for that, because it's sort of threefold. One of it is the funding, and so it shouldn't, or I imagine it won't come from special ed anymore, because it will be completely from
But
for a
the
particular
the
department.
Medi-Cal fund will continue to pay for whoever's doing that, 4 or 5
So
hours a
you'll
week.
still lose that 50% cost, that cost that was 50%
Right,
of what it cost.
it won't be a Ma duty anymore, so it's not.
Right, it'll
gonna
just be a special ed
Right.
still maintaining the picking up of the bill,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay, so then, okay, that.
We have a lot of important things to do tonight. I'm going to suggest that we just table this because I'd like to give CSEA one more month to come up with a salary, if everyone's agreeable, because it sounds like there's some unanswered questions. I agree.
I agree.
All right, so we'll just table this until next month, ask that CSEA provide a salary schedule, and then have our HR's recommendation in the agenda as to the salary schedule, so that we, and then maybe a little bit more of an explanation.
So
Because
without the ability to negotiate, how might you suggest we come up with a salary schedule?
You don't negotiate.
Well, you have a job description, so I guess we look for a
We'll take it
recommendation
to
from
CSEA.
CSEA, and if they, I don't know whether they just were asked on Tuesday, or whether they've had a lot of time.
January 20th we were asked,
So,
yes.
so they'll have another month, and if they don't want to if they don't feel capable of making the recommendation, which would be fully understandable, because I don't even understand what we're just talking about. CSEA might not either, and so, we might not get a recommendation from them, but I think we ought to at least give them a fair chance, and I'm a little bit confused, so rather than approve something, I understood this was not adding a position, and I want to just look at everything one more time to just make sure that that's what it says.
Can we possibly bring it back to the March 16th meeting?
Is there
rather
an
than the
urgency
April?
to it?
No, can we have another whole month till
Oh, is there-
the?
Oh, a whole month?
Is there an urgency to it?
No, it's just, I was thinking of the next meeting, and that is March 16th. so
Well, I meant the April meeting. I don't want to load things up on that special meeting, because that is a special meeting.
So do we need a motion to table it, or?
I think we heard three, sort of rumbles that said,
Okay.
let's table it, so we'll just do The next item is,
It's actually a letter from Howard Foundation that the board president had requested be placed on the agenda. I don't know if you want to speak.
yeah, I'll just briefly, Howard Foundation has requested that the district provide a support letter to the foundation that the former hospital building conversion to a mental health facility would not jeopardize the school district's operations. And I promised Marge Handley that we'd put it on the agenda, and so we have just a very simple letter that says that we informally told the foundation that several months ago, and they wanted to get a letter of so they put it in the file for their applications.
Is there some sort of allegation that such might be the case? I mean, is it proximity to Becker Brook, for example?
I received plenty of phone calls about people concerned about it.
It's right around the corner from.
Yeah, we had a hospital there for 50 years, you know.
The same ones walking around without any.
Yeah. And
just so you know.
The mental health facility is going to be a lockdown facility, you know. So we had the same nuts going into the hospital as they're now going to be locked up in that hospital. So I think it's going to be, and it's basically the other consideration is the use of the facility. We as a community have to find a use for that facility, or it's going to start deteriorating. And it
The
is.
nuts are moving in.
What's that?
Or the nuts are going to move in.
I'm sorry.
Either way, the
I'm
nuts
pretty
are
tired right
moving
now, so
in.
I probably used some injudicious words.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion?
Is
Paul?
it people to be residents or counseling in and out? Is that?
I
when
think
they
it
say they
entitles
try
all
to
of it.
It's what?
I think it's to entitle
To
all
be
of it.
all of it?
Mhm.
I haven't
Oh,
seen any
okay.
proposal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't understand.
So if you live around the corner, you might want to make some waves, Mrs.
Oh, make
Nunez.
friends.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Is there a reason for the abstention, usually if it's a conflict?
I don't know, I haven't seen a proposal.
Okay.
I don't know enough about it.
All right. Next item is approval to designate 5 school buses as surplus to facilitate disposal.
If I could request, Mr. President, based on the information that was shared earlier, that we change that to 2 buses, and it would be the 2 that do not and will not meet the emissions requirements. Mr. McGinty, do we know which of this list are those 2, or we would just have to check it?
I have to look at all of it.
Okay, that's fine. We can, so I'm asking that we surplus 2 of them at this time with the intent that we'll bring more information back to the board in the April board meeting.
Okay.
To
The
possibly
other 3.
surplus the other 3.
Okay.
There's something a little bit more pressing here, which has me a little bit bothered. We're getting information from our prior mechanic that 3 of these buses didn't need to be surplus. I don't know if it's factual or what. He explains that, in theory, the exhaust systems, particulate management part of these exhaust systems are currently defective, and that they'll be repaired at no cost to the district for under warranty. He also suggests that all 3 of those buses are well under their expected lifespan in terms of being under 100,000 miles on each of those buses, and suggests that those buses would get 300,000 plus miles on them throughout their lifespan. I don't know what years those 3 buses are in terms of when they were manufactured, but there's actually 2 issues here for me. One is, are we surplusing buses that don't need to be surplused that could still be in service in our district, number 1. And number 2 is, at the last board meeting, we approved the purchase of 2 additional new buses for about $340,000. If we have 3 buses that we're going to surplus that don't need to be surplus, why are we buying 2 new buses? So I think it's probably incumbent upon us to find out the answer to this as quickly as we possibly can, because quite frankly, if we have 3 buses that we're trying to surplus that didn't need to be surplus, that tells me that we didn't need to buy 2 new buses at $340,000, which makes $340,000 available to the district for a wide range of things. I'm wondering how we can expedite this so that we get that information, because I believe we have those those 2 new buses are on order and they're scheduled to be delivered. When did you say?
April 1.
April 15th.
Oh.
Well, I will say this, sir, I'm now in my 3rd year in this district, and I've known for 3 years that we've had to buy 2 buses this year. I mean, I've known that because of the fiscal planning piece that I'm involved in. That was information shared with me under the prior transportation director and our mechanic who has now left the district. That was a well-known fact to me all this time.
Wasn't there some concern about the structural integrity of some of these buses?
No.
It's an emission issue, I know, on 2 of them, that we had surplus, and then, the replacement buses were, I believe, to replace the 2 with the emissions issue, that we are now dealing with, and those are the 2 that we will surplus hopefully tonight. And then we'll move forward and we'll get the answers to the rest of the questions.
And the other 3 buses are buses that we don't need because we don't need as many buses because enrollment is way down from
I would suspect
prior
so,
years.
yeah.
And but the possibility is that those 3 buses we might want to keep.
Well, keep in mind that while those buses sit there, and Mr. McGinty, correct me if I'm wrong, every 45 days they get inspected, and we pay insurance on them, and we have to check that box, and they are not necessary in the fleet. They're not the buses we use.
Is there a possibility we could lease, if they're desirable buses that are serviceable, that we could lease them to other districts?
I'll call Laytonville, find out what they're doing. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, I've never thought about that. It's not one of the things I've thought about.
Well, you've suggested to bring back the surplusing recommendation on the other 3 buses at the next meeting.
Yes, and I'm asking to surplus 2 of them, the
Okay.
2 emission ones.
Do we have a motion as to the surplusing of the 2 buses?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion second. Any public discussion? People are yawning back there. Yeah. All right. Any board discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 If we could, sir, item G through M, we could do in one motion. They are all first reads. Again, we're updating our board policies, so this will be the first read, and they will come back to you at the later board meeting for a second. So perhaps we can do all of those in one action.
I've read all those, I'm familiar with all of those. This is something we've seen coming. I'll make the motion to approve G through M.
Anybody have any objection to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any public discussion? Paul?
I'm just concerned about the one that is being absorbed. I was talking with Trina and 4030 and 4031. It was sort of hard for me to read, so I didn't end up reading all of it, but those seem like pretty big deals, and I just, there are a lot of red line, not red ones, they're all black on this one, but it's supposed to be kind of like a meshing of 431, isn't that what you explained, into 430?
The item K, or excuse me, not item K, item L, AR 4031 is being deleted entirely. That is being absorbed into item K, the AR 4031, or just above it. It's being absorbed into that. So they've taken 4031, it should say 4030, excuse that typo. For K is 4030, and 4031 is AR is being deleted completely.
And what you're doing now is just actually acknowledging that you've received these. It's not taking any action on it, just acknowledgement that you've received the first read.
But usually on the second read, don't you just put them on the consent agenda and it's off there?
Yes, because they should.
So this is the only time if you're gonna read them over and look at them and say, well, I don't know why this
No,
isn't
they
here.
can come back when it comes before them next time.
Just have it pulled off.
Yes, they would be able to
consent
say.
So it can be discussed?
Exactly.
Okay, 'cause
If they're
there are
not.
some quirks in it, but I don't know how you saw them to be the same.
But keep in mind,
Did
this
you read all of
recommendation's
those
coming to us from
thoroughly?
legal counsel.
Especially
This is coming
these
straight out of
complaint-
CEP.
Well, yeah,
discrimination
except that
laws.
parts of it, on
It's
some of
just
these, it says
legals.
this is the new law, and
Government
takes care of that.
Yeah.
In other parts, it just says it's board discretion, now they're kind of gonna modify or
So it's
exchange, you
not
know,
like-
change them, the words around.
So can I
Okay.
make a request?
Yes.
With respect to, and I understand exactly what Paul is talking about, it is difficult to read the formatting. Because it shows what's been added, what's been deleted, and you gotta kind of pick and what's there. It would be nice if you showed us that, as well as what the actual intact policy will look like.
Well, I agree with that, because it was that.
So I can actually read the
Little
policy without all
boxes
the
off to
extra
the
stuff.
side, or I don't.
Okay.
I love the color coding. Show me what you added and everything else, so just so you know.
It's Microsoft Word, and so what I do is I go in and I tell it to track those changes, and it tracks it and puts it over on
Exactly,
the
I
side.
understand that. But, and that works really well for me, to a
Uh-huh.
point, but at some point it gets pretty confusing. And
Sure.
at some point, I'd like to be able to just read the policy as it's gonna exist.
The only way for me to do that is to say accept the changes, and then the other part will be gone.
Well, no, you can do it.
Okay, I'll figure out a way.
I have lawyers send me
If
those
Mr.
kinds
Mary
of things
says
all
you
the
can
time.
do it, you
I say,
can
I
do
don't
it.
know
I
what
can
you're
do
talking
it.
about. So
I will
send
do
me
it.
something I can read.
Okay.
But, yes, we have a question,
Yeah, I
Maria?
have a question. So, does AR,
40-30 or 40-31?
5121, completely disregard the grading system for Bechtel Grove Middle School? And that includes, does that include 4 through 12 grades, A, B, C, D, F grades?
Sort of, that's, I mean, the way it's written, yeah, it looks like.
The way it's written now? So I
See,
just want
that's
to
what gets
remind,
confusing.
the board that Bechtel Grove has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grading system.
Well, so does Blossom, you know, I mean.
And Blossom.
And Brookside, I mean, get them all, you know.
This says it's specific to grade 12.
I didn't see that. Well,
Oh, boy.
well, see, that's why it's gotta be made more clear, you don't know what you're saying, yes.
Deleted, is that deleted?
All right. Is there any urgency to this?
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. President, that we take no acknowledgement of these, we will pull them back and we will get them to the board in color so you can see all the.
Theirs are in color.
Oh, are they?
No, no.
Yeah,
What I'd
but
like
it's
to see
still,
is
Pat, look, I mean,
is what Alex is
it's
pointing
not
out
like
is,
you could figure
let's just
out
see what
what's
the
what.
policy is, not what was taken out of it, or,
Okay.
you know, I mean, you can have both things. You can
Okay.
have a red line version
And then the original.
and the original.
The existing one.
And,
yeah.
you know, and a
Very
red
good.
line version is the things, you know, there's a different, this is track changes.
I
There's a
want the
second.
red line version and the final version.
Right.
I don't care what the original one, I
Okay.
can figure that out about the red line one pretty easily.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanna see what the final one's gonna look like.
It's fine when there's a few changes
So
at the
then-
red line, but when there's that many changes, it's just hard to keep track of.
Okay.
We're gonna table this till the April meeting?
Yeah.
To
Yes.
do the first read?
Well,
All right.
yeah, we'll just table the first read of all these, as it's G through M.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to N.
This is just a standard policy that we do every year at this time, and it has to do with how the district will utilize the skipping criteria in the case of seniority lists for employees. It's a pretty standard
I'll
one.
make a motion to
Skipping,
approve.
I don't
There's no red
understand.
lines.
I'll second it, can you explain it, Pat?
Well,
What are we skipping?
well, the skipping criteria would be, should we have any layoffs, which we do not. It's the order by which we would decide which employee would get laid off. That's called the skipping criteria. It's, somebody was hired on this date, so they have more seniority over somebody
Okay,
else or not.
so it's just the seniority thing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
seniority.
it's a typer, it's a typer.
Basically, so if you have multiple people who are hired on the same date, and you decide who you're gonna lay off, or attrition, or whatever the case may be.
All right.
This criteria is what they would apply.
Okay,
I made the motion to approve.
I second it.
Okay, any public discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Oh,
O, approval of resolution of reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of services, resolution number 2015-1612.
This is a resolution, we are current staffing at the elementary house staffed by 2 teachers. So we're asking the board approval to move forward on discontinuance of particular kinds of service, this resolution. But I will say that we have received 1 resignation today, so then we would no longer have 2, we would then have 1. And we are anticipating at least 2 more. So
2 more resignations.
yes, so we're asking for the approval, so if we need to do this, we've got it, but we're gonna hold off on doing this to the latest moment we can. So that's what we're asking you to do.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, do we need a first step? What kind of services? Are we?
Teachers.
Oh,
2 multiple subject teachers.
okay.
They're teachers, 2 full-time members.
Well, it says services. Doesn't say teachers.
Okay. Well, we no longer need the services of 2
Those
multiple subject teachers at.
If you could just spell it out in the agenda, it would be a lot easier.
This is just an enrollment.
Okay.
All right,
So
do we have a
make
motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? Public?
Who was the
Alright.
first? I
Cynthia.
apologize.
Cynthia.
Thank you.
So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a request for a very short presentation. I asked it to be very short. Laura Rowland.
Hi, thank you. I know it's really late. My name's Laura Rowland. I'm a special ed teacher at Blosser Lane. And I wanted to tag on to the special ed presentation. So, so many good things were said tonight. Technology is a great tool to use with kids in special ed. And 3 of the things that I heard mentioned, Kelly mentioned least restrictive environment. We always need to be mindful of keeping our students out of resource rooms and all those places they get pulled out to have specialized services. And thanks. And then self-esteem is huge when you have kids who don't read in 3rd grade or are reading so far below their peers, they're still decoding CBC words. A great tool, well, technology is becoming this playing field leveler. And we all are familiar with ebooks. So there's a tool, people with disabilities are entitled to equal access to print materials. So a learning disability falls under the ADA requirements for equal access. And their textbooks are all in the cloud in a repository, book repository called Bookshare, with an app available on iPads and iPhones called Read2Go. Bookshare, access to Bookshare is easily available. And our students can be reading their textbook, their social studies, science, English, in their classroom along with their peers, but the text is reading it to them. It's ebook. So I was going to demonstrate it for you, but I don't need to. We all know what ebooks do and are. But the cool thing about Bookshare is that it highlights the words. So it is actually helping the students learn to read and helping with their fluency. They're getting proper fluency and all the other things. So why this is, I have a Donors Choose project right now to buy 5 iPads for our school, for Blosser Lane. They would not be mine. Money never touches my hands. But the students would get iPads to use so that they could access books that would help them be back in their general ed classes and so many other things. So I'm shamelessly promoting my project, but there are other Willits teachers who have projects through Donors Choose. There was an article in the paper last week, and I just wanted to promote it and say, you know, this is what we're doing. Teachers are out there raising money for their classroom through crowdfunding, and Donors Choose is just another example of it. I have until April to raise the funds. I've raised almost half of it. It was a $2,500 project to buy 5 iPads. I'm halfway there. But I noticed that there's another teacher at Brookside who has 4 days left for her project. And she's trying to raise science equipment. So if we can just, I wanted the community to be aware of what we're doing and maybe stay plugged into Donors Choose, and every $50 donation, $20, just like Bernie Sanders, right? Average donation is $20 or whatever, but it all helps. So thank you for your time.
So this is the story that was in Willits Weekly last week.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so I have a request that we adjourn to closed session.
We'll need a few minutes just to tear down the technology, if you don't mind.
All right.
So my guys
Didn't
can-
we finish everything? It was in closed session.
Going on.
No, we got recommendations. Superintendent. Laura's going to give us a summary of
Not going anywhere.
the.
Well said.